Okay, we are back. So we had a very interesting culmination of events in our last session. We were in the Betrayer's Rise, the ancient temple to the Betrayer gods in the city of Bazazan, and we were all rooting around, and everywhere we went. Through one secret tunnel or another, or one entrance or another, just kept running into a lot of very torturous scenes and dirty traps and just mostly unsavory things from the demonic realms. You did manage to, as we find out later, find really the kind of a treacherous route, but it was the most direct, one way or the other. You did actually get to the very dungeon that you were looking to find the prayer room of the Changebringer, which is this giant crystal room. And when you made it there, you had found the altar, and you had got the jeweled amulet near the altar. And when you did, it responded, and it kind of projected across the entire crystalline structure of the room some 3D holographic image of Atroxian, who was the kind of person who's was in the original vision that Io had when she first touched the amulet way back in the Emerald Grotto when it was first found. And this person, we had come to find out, is somehow trapped. He was one of the champions of the prime deities that fought against the demons way back when right before the calamity in the giant war that took place between the betrayer gods and the prime deities. And this champion of those deities sought off from the Betrayer's Rise to fight a big battle, and they had managed to save quite a bit as a result of that. And somehow he was lost. He wasn't necessarily killed, but he was lost, trapped somehow externally. And through some conversations, it's a little cryptic. It wasn't like a good telecommunication device, so to speak, but you were able to interact with him to some extent as he portrayed some information, told you a little bit about the jewel and a little bit about kind of where he's at, but he didn't, the entire world was reformed to some degree, when the calamity took place, and so his descriptors were from an age long ago, and so you tried to piece together some information, try to figure out where that might be, and you had some insight. You did have some insight, and as you were kind of ending up this conversation, the lady in the red robes teleported into the room with your rival group. And she had ordered them to take the amulet from you. They weren't really interested in that. They've kind of been through, or at least know what you have been through. They didn't really get to go through much of it, and kind of had built a relationship with you, and just weren't really interested in taking that job. So they kind of laid down their own arms and stepped aside. And she got really pissed and started breaking out these tablets that had these stored spells in them. And then she started to basically try to collapse the entire cavern in on top of everyone as she teleported away with one of her amulets, or one of her tablets. You managed to grab a couple of those tablets they picked up, and they were as you took a bit of time to investigate them and see what they were, as the roof was literally caving in on top of you, saw that there was some transportation magic built into them with a set of coordinates. And so you try to figure out how do you activate it, what do you do, and then you just broke it. And when you broke it, the whole world kind of began to collapse in on itself, literally. It kind of, time and space folded into one, right where you stood, as a circle appeared on the ground. And then that's where we left off. The last thing you saw was reality blinking out to blackness, right as we ended in our last session. So, let's say that if we kind of pick up from that point, time, even though time seems to stand still and space is entirely void and black, it still seems like time is moving forward. You have feelings, like maybe not so much racing thoughts, but you get sensory input. Like you can't really think in this time period, in this little piece. You can't move. You just feel. And it seems like the feeling has gone on. And it's so empty. It seems like almost in and of itself depressing to suck the inner spirit from you away. And then it begins to hurt. I mean, you're actually beginning to feel physical pain as a sensory input, um, and this seems to go on for a long time. It, like to yourself, even though you have no like actually inner monologue or thought. It's kind of a weird experience in and of itself. But if you were to try to put time on it, hours have gone by, maybe even days. But it just feels like, to an extent, you're just being tortured, and now the whole of you is numb, but all you can feel is that pain and tearing, until just as a moment it stops, and then the utter blackness becomes blinding light. The gray, dull, actually kind of cold, cool atmosphere that you've been used to for, the entire season of which we've been in the areas of the Barb Fields and Jor House and all of these things. Your whole life you've kind of been in that area, and it's always been murky and kind of dark, even in the bright days. Especially when we moved into the Barb Fields. Now is perfectly blue sky bright, and heat unlike you have ever felt outside of standing next to a bonfire, emanates the entirety of the environment around you. It is just swelteringly hot. As your eyes begin to adjust and you start to look around, you can start to hear sounds of it's almost like insects, a buzz in the depth of a swamp or forest. And it gets louder and it drones. You can hear these large, impactful sounds as things move up above you in the air. And then it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to this extreme brightness, and you look around, you see a lot of sandstone colored buildings in what is a completely different place.
I uh, see the light, and at first the warmth of the light is nice, but then it kind of stings my eyes a little bit. And I look around. Are my friends here? Is the other group here? Is everyone here?
Yeah, a quick surrounding, head count. All the rivals are here, and all of the main group is here. And as you look around, you can see drawn on the floor beneath you, it looks like you're on some kind of rooftop. And this rooftop has a circle very similar to that was drawn in the chamber, that crystal chamber that you left. And that symbol looks like kind of a smoky ash that is starting to wither and disappear.
I check my wounds. Are we still wounded?
Physically, your state seems to be about the same as it was before you left. All that mental anguish and physical torture and the literal tearing asunder of your entire being does not seem to have transpired into a physical manifestation now that you are here.
Ezrin says, "I want whiskey."
Can you remind me? We had picked up 2 of the tablets. Did we use both of them to get here, or were we able to all come with one?
You were able to all come with one.
And do we still have the other one?
Galceriad has the other tablet.
You may have heard I want some whiskey. I want all the whiskey.
Well, where are we? Anybody have any idea?
I left another group
Brad, are
low.
we high up or are we
sorry.
on in that picture? Are we high up or are we like on one of those lower buildings in the lower part?
Yeah, so you kind of get a little better look of, like, you take stock in a little. You see this giant palace in the center, and that palace is off to your northeast a good distance. You are on what looks like a very large building, but it's more sprawled than it is like skyscrapery in being. But it's probably 3 floor, like top of a roof that's on top of maybe 3 floors.
Looked to the other group. I was like, "You guys came."
I try to start looking for a way to get down.
Okay, start looking around. You can see that there is like a rooftop access kind of doorway that goes in. Um, you know, on top of this large roof, there's like some canopies and things on lower down that, but not something that looks like intended for any actual like jumping down kind of thing.
So if we wanted to like Aladdin style it.
No.
Just a few moments transpire, and you begin to hear a buzz in the air, very near where you all stood when you first came in on the top of this roof. As you've kind of spread out and started looking around, maybe over the tops and stuff like that, and the area on the top of the roof begins to glow again.
I think we should.
At least back up and
Yeah,
not be
get
in
away.
the middle of it.
Yeah.
Is that door unlocked, Zeb? Brutus?
I don't know if it was an actual doorway. A door. It was a doorway.
It was just more of a open archway, kind of into like some stairs that go down. As you kind of look around, it isn't but just a brief few seconds before that glowing brightness seems to coalesce into the writing of that same similar looking symbol on the ground. And it snaps into place as another teleportation circle is drawn magically on the ground, and a bright flash in the middle takes place. And as soon as the flash subsides, you see a relatively old tiefling, but yet very short tiefling. And beside him is someone you have seen before. Question.
Question the tiefling that we
Was
saved
in the
from
tavern.
Oh,
With the drawing. She had the drawing of the amulet.
that's right.
I kind of watched this. Are they disoriented when they land, or are they just like, okay, we're here now?
They land not like in a hero pose, but they do land like almost like the floor was unstable to a degree, like, you know, knees bent, kind of hunkered down, and then looking around very curiously to try to figure out like exactly where they are. And it takes them a moment for their senses to come, you know, kind of together so that they can even draw in sound and sight. And they just kind of look there stunned.
I give Question a wave of recognition.
You can see that she blinks her eyes and she kind of looks around, and then you can see, like, it's like as soon as that, you know, moment clicks where that recognition takes place, her eyes open widely as she kind of stands up, and you can see that like her backbone and posture is kind of leaned back and almost like some kind of excited as her fists kind of come up to either side, almost like she's going to clap. And she goes, "Ooh, an answer I did not expect, and in the Jeweled City nonetheless."
I say, do you know where we are?
This is our home of Ankarel. Do you not know it?
I do not. It's hot
I
here.
rolled a
is it?
history check earlier. Do I?
Oh, I see. You have heard of Ankarel, but as far as actually relatively where it's at, no. Like you wouldn't be able to point it out a direction towards it or anything from any of your knowledge of where you are. But you have
But
heard of
I
it.
know the name. Okay.
But it is a far off place, almost like if you were thinking in, like the Dark Ages, even whispers of places like India and China, what they might have been like before Marco Polo and the like. It would be something that is, there's this uncouth place of wild and crazy things that have been most likely exaggerated beyond any tangible, real, practical belief that could be really surmised in any way. But it is a place. You can see Question is kind of sitting there thinking and tapping her foot. So how did you get here? Very interesting.
Well,
Magically?
the short story is, we don't really know. We just kind of broke a tablet and poof.
Broke a tablet. And where did you get such a tablet that would lead you here?
Scavenged it.
I wouldn't say scavenged.
I mean, it was dropped by someone,
Trying
and
to
then
kill
we
us.
picked it up, and it was break the tablet and hope it takes us somewhere or die.
You can kind of see her eyes narrow as her head cocks to the side a little inquisitively. I see. And this someone, did you know them? Were they in Bazozan? Was it something...
The red, I forget their names. The red robed, crimson. Wasn't that them?
Okay,
Some priest
Crimson-
cultist person.
Yes. So at the red robed kind of descriptor, you can see the the old tiefling who's very short, with really gray hair. Aha! I knew that bitch was in it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that descriptor.
And then you see Question. Calm down, Professor. I had a feeling as well. Loja and the damned dream. The consortium at work. Always the consortium.
We have many questions. Now what is the first one?
Or I could use a bed and some food.
Well, you can see
Maybe some
Question.
sutures.
You can see Question herself kind of go, yes, perhaps questions and answers are in order, but first... And she kind of starts to take in... I see the palace. This must be the bazaar. Where might this be? And then, like a moment's pondering, and then this recognition kind of comes on her face. Professor, if it was a loja, do you think this is in fact what I think it is? And then you can kind of see the professor kind of looking around. As, aha! Yes. Could be. This might very well be the tavern.
Well, one way to find out. I head over to the stairs.
Not just any tavern.
No?
Given who it is, and the nature and the size of it in the bazaar, it's probably the headquarters of the consortium.
Well, that complicates things.
The Emerald Dream itself.
Do we still have the... Kaz? I cast a glance at him. I stopped myself from saying anything. Do
What?
we still have the amulet?
Yeah, I give it to you. Let me
Well,
put it in inventory.
wait, if this is the consortium's tavern, then why would you teleport to it?
Ooh, a very fine question. Question? Well, you see, it's actually my doing, really. Very interesting indeed, my doing. So, a day or two after you were last seen, when the temple nearly crumbled upon itself, the mountain nearly fell. We went digging around, you see, and we found the traces of a magical teleportation spell. I kind of, backwards undid some information, and we decided it was the place to go. It's where the answers might be, and boy, were we right.
So you followed us here.
Yes, although, to be honest, I'm surprised you're still here. I mean, so many days later, to be still standing on this rooftop, it seems very improbable.
We just got here. 5 minutes before you did.
They share kind of a glance to one another. Really? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Kaz, I think I need some whiskey too. Doesn't
You
make any
just
sense at all.
arrived. It's been at least. Well, we don't know when you were lost, but we know that the mountain started coming down 3.5, almost 4 days ago.
We teleported when the bitch was the one that made the mountain start tumbling in. That's falling down or whatever. That's why we teleported. That's when we teleported.
Oh, I see. Trapped in the void for that long. That must be unsettling, to say the least. Can see your need for the spirits. But I think first we should perhaps come apart from this place and go to safety. I don't really know their intentions. I cannot trust the consortium. Not even a little. Is it safer to risk it, or... Nah, very well. Come, everyone gathered around. I have a way. And the professor, pulls out another tablet. I hope you trust. As ready or not, it is time to get the hell out of here.
All right, let's go.
He says, all right, gather around, everyone. And then he breaks his tablet.
Up this takes to a tavern.
Right over kind of where that original teleportation circle was, and a new one is drawn. It looks definitely different, but you can't really discern exactly why, but the shapes look a little different. And then in a flash, instantly, you find yourself transported somewhere else again. This time, what looks to be the courtyard of a very large, for not quite cathedral-looking building, but definitely not as big as that main palace that you could see from the rooftop. The Crystal Chateau. Safer.
Excellent. That went painlessly.
Ah, good. Much better experience when not dragged through eternity in an instant. So, perhaps some quid pro quo? A sharing of information? Questions you have? Perhaps answers we can provide? And then, very likely, questions in return. And then question, you can pipe up, and she's actually now just kind of hopping and clapping her hands a little. Yes, yes!
Okay,
Answers to questions! Let us see.
I pull the amulet. I got the amulet from Kaz and I put it on, but I pull the amulet out and hold it, and I say the amulet changed while we were in the rise.
You can see the professor kind of narrow his eyes. He's like, amulet? Ancient artifacts of the past?
We don't exactly know what it is. Do you know about this?
You can see question kind of turn and talk to him for just a moment. We've already answered this question, Professor. It is the amulet I described and had a picture of. Yes, picture. But can I see the amulet?
I look over at Kaz.
You've got it.
I walk towards him, but I keep my hand on it so that he can.
It's still around your neck.
Yeah, it's still around my neck. Yeah.
Okay.
And my hand is on it as I kind of like hold it out so he can get a closer look.
You can see that he kind of puts his hand kind of over the top of yours where you have it held, and then he just kind of moves it around and starts chanting a little. And the amulet glows for a brief moment, and yes, this is something of incredible might.
What can you tell us about it?
This is definitely the vestige of divergence. It is definitely one of many. From the era before the calamity. Something created by the deities to give to their champions to fight the betrayers.
How do we use it?
While you may be able to channel its abilities, it does not belong to you. So, its powers are likely dormant, or many of which are inaccessible. Maybe chinks in its armor can be removed where you could use them, but I think that would have to come with the grace of the deity that bestowed its original power.
How do we pursue that line?
Well, that's hard to say. It kind of depends on the origin of this particular vestige.
We know something of the origin, don't we? The one because of the Furbolg or whatever showed us the image, right?
You do, yes.
I share that what we know about that vision.
Ah, the Apotheon. Interesting. Champion of the Changebringer.
Is that champion Drad? This is out of character. Is that champion the same one that we think is trapped, or is that a different?
That's
line?
not the word that was used that he identified himself as. Apotheon is not. It's another A word, but it is not the word that he had used.
Okay. Well, what? Okay, this is also out of character. I'm trying to recall the place where this guy said that he was stuck. Where he didn't have much information for us to know about that. I tried to relate what he had told us to see if the old guy or question know anything about that place. Where he might be. Well, that's a good question. Yeah. Uh,
That they're mining or taking away the green crystal stuff. Was it green crystals near there? And that if they continued doing it, they would bring about disaster.
it's like the telephone game. Here we are.
Red crystal. Okay.
I say that name and tell them the name, and I'd ask them if they know that name or any history of that.
I believe that might be the name forgotten, but the name of the Apothian himself. Perhaps before his ascension as champion? I could not say. But there are those that might.
What do you have in mind? We need information, and it seems like we need to act fast, because others are going to be seeking this.
Well, let's start with food and drinks.
Rest.
Oh, books. Sounds expensive. Where's the cheapest place for a drink? Here.
I don't know. I think we could use some backing. I am. I'm inclined to join the faction that did not try to kill us.
Well, no, there's multiple.
Oh, we have more than just those two.
Well, it sounds like the professor is part of one faction,
And
and
question is
question
another.
is another.
So who was speaking when they said that they could put in a good word? Was that the professor?
That was the professor.
Okay.
You've understood not that Cobalt Soul, are they two different things?
They are indeed two different things. And so that much. Okay, so the Cobalt Soul is something that you likely would have heard of mildly. It's not very prominent on in kind of the Jor House side of things, but they act somewhat everywhere in the globe to some small extent. In some places, much greater than others.
And that's questions, right? The
That is
Cobalt Soul.
yes. Question is a investigator for the Cobalt Soul. And so,
Do we know about the university? When they came in, I just assumed they were both part of the Cobalt Soul, so that was my inner imagery of the situation.
and so they'd be like to kind of cut through some, just to kind of shortcut a little of that conversation. They both would kind of explain a little backing of kind of what they are for. The Allegiance of Allsight is the kind of university district that's here. This is the Crystal Chateau and its headquarters is one of like the major university of the area and all of kind of surrounding regions of Marquette. It's definitely known all over Marquette, and they were kind of founded specifically to kind of go back to look at some of the old ways of the orcs and elves of long past for this area, and look at arcane and knowledge and traditions of that era and study them. And it's like their kind of motto is you peer into the past to illuminate the future. That's their kind of motto, if you will. The Cobalt Soul is, for anyone knows about the Harpers, they are somewhat like the Harpers in that they are a giant organization that seeks out truth. And they also, to some extent, hoard knowledge, and hoard is not the right word. They collect knowledge. They don't keep other people from it or anything like that, but they have massive libraries in all over the world where they seek truth, and then some of their truth seeking is known to be not just like research and study, but also, for lack of better terminology, spy and subterfuge and other things of that as well. So they are people that infiltrate to try to find out what the truth is of whatever's happening, or more of in the now. And their kind of motto is reason, knowledge, truth.
Look towards question. I believe we have some more conversations in the bar that we need to pick up on.
Keeps pushing.
So how about this? Obviously, we need to talk to our leaders and those in charge. Perhaps we could fast track some membership for either of our organizations. I would be wary of the consortium. They do exist. They do also operate. They are a sizable faction in town. The other kind of concept that I would keep in mind is time is of the essence, and so you must choose a path before you. The answers, I'm sure, could be attained in many different ways. Perhaps the professor and I could allow you some of our per diem to perhaps set yourself up as we try to get some answers of our own, and maybe we'll seek you out, and perhaps by then you will have made a decision.
Sounds good. Let's explore, and we'll meet up at when? I look around at the group. And where? The group is silent.
The question would, first off, she's like, first, Professor, and then like she kind of taps her foot, or she puts one hand on her hip, it's like, oh yes, very well, and then he goes in and he grabs like a piece, like a pouch, and then she grabs one, and then she kind of hands it over, and it's filled with gold. It's like best glance, it's a sizable sack of gold, maybe 200 plus gold pieces in it. And she says, I will take you to a place that I think at least is safe, not in the bazaar, that you could perhaps stay and get your bearings. And then here, take this. And she hands you a stone that has a face on it. And not just like a coin has a face on it, but like definitely like a relief carving of a face. And she says, "This is a sending stone. It's a two-way communication device through magic that you can, once a day, concentrate and send a message of 25 words or less to someone on the other side. And through that magic, they can respond in turn. Once a day, I will keep one. You will have the other. We will have matching pairs."
Excellent. Thank you.
And you see the professor's like, he's a little harumphed at that, like giving him gifts, like you could see that he's a little perturbed that he doesn't have something to hand over other than the money that they put together in the sack. Like she's trying to sweeten the deal to get you to consider her side more than his. At this, one thing that they would mention is that their two factions are allies. They're staunch allies that work together often. They have different goals, but oftentimes those goals overlap, and so they're happy to work together as they have in Bazzoxan and also in returning here.
Out of character, Drad, could you put the names of their organizations in the chat just so I can ponder over them, and then when we're out and trying to find out what's the population of this city or whatever, think of these factions.
I actually have a handful of city notes to give, as well as something else, which is going to give a question. The question will give you the a pamphlet. We'll say a pamphlet. That's got here's your visitor information for Ankara,
Okay,
and then she's going to give you a map as well. But she's going to do that away from the professor when after she kind of picked up on his perturbedness, and she doesn't want to give you more things around him. As she leads you off to the tavern, and he goes into the university itself.
Okay.
Okay, so first off, let me do these kind of in pieces.
Who's holding the stone?
I mean, everybody should hold their own stones, but that's just
No,
me.
I think
We're
I
not
think
that close yet.
I think Kaz too.
Kaz, you got the communicator.
Put the sending stone in the party sheet.
Yeah, because Kaz can hear that, and if he needs to, he can send a message to us in another way, so.
Sorry, it's going to take me a second here to get everything opened up. It's all buried. This city has a lot of information and districts and stuff about taverns and all kinds of junk everywhere, so I'm going to get the right one things open and the right map.
We gotta find
houses everywhere.
We gotta find some side missions in this place.
You sure you don't want to find the temple to hell and run straight towards it right now?
Okay, so the map of Moncarel is shared with you because I just shared you. Wait, did I? No, I didn't.
Didn't pop up, but maybe I have to do something. Oh, there's something.
It's all black.
Yep. Let me fix that.
It's very dark here.
It's nighttime.
Holy shit.
This city is huge for a medieval
that's
style
so
city.
Awesome.
This city is of Ank'Harel is kind of the capital city of Marquette. Marquette is an entire continent west of Tal'Dorei, southwest of Tal'Dorei. It's not entirely, but mostly desert. A huge portion of the continent is desert. This city is almost 300,000 people for a medieval city. That's monstrous. And as you're walking around, as questions leading you to this other district, you notice that the vast majority of people that you run into are humans, orcs, and elves.
So I'm as a lizard man and Balasar, we're uncommon for sure.
Very, yes.
I try as we're
And
walking.
Kazrin is a you're a dark like you're a drow, right? Yeah, you're a drow.
Yes.
There are no drow. None drow. Not a single one other than Kazrin can be seen in the entire walk through hundreds, thousands of people potentially through
Gladriel's a
the bazaar.
draw, isn't
And which district were we going to? I'm just trying to get my bearings.
Okay, so the bazaar was where you arrived first, and then he
And then we
teleported
teleported.
you across the town to the Sigil district.
I see.
The Sigil district is where the
Alfie
university's at, and then she's leading you to the circle walk. The circlet walk.
Okay. Perfect.
And then so when as she walks through, she allows, if you have questions for question, she will allow you to, chat and talk as you walk. Although she would say if there's something as we're walking in the crowd, perhaps things of secrecy should be kept at discretion. But if you have questions about anything, I'd be happy to answer.
Does my gear have something like a hood or something that I could pull up over my head to hide my lizard man stuff from being as obvious? I don't know if people give me weird looks, or maybe it's not that kind of thing.
Yes. I mean, people aren't, at least in this part of town, are not seemingly like this is often a good place
Are
for
people
locals.
disgusted by us?
People disgusted by you? No, you see many people that are shocked by you, but not disgusted. Like,
All right.
what is this?
I don't
like,
care then.
like what is
Yeah, okay.
this? Like, but it is.
I'm exotic. I feel special.
But but not like, these outsiders are the devil. Like you're not getting that kind of vibe. You're getting, what the shit is that? Like,
I was just mostly concerned that if we stick out like a sore thumb, then word's gonna get around, and we're just gonna get more attention than we want early.
that does seem like, like whispers happen. Like, what is that? And then, like, as you keep walking through, like you're getting the idea that there's a buzz, but not a negative buzz. But the buzz exists, so knowledge of your presence is not well hidden, even with attempts. I mean, Balazar's a giant dragon man. Like, even with a hood, he's a giant dragon man.
Then the other thing is, when we arrived, you said there was a buzzing also. Did we ever discover what that buzzing sound was?
It was
Or is
more
that
like
just the
your
buzz of people?
perceptions, of going from silence and earthquakes and the void to there being thousands of people talking and bartering and all that junk around you, right?
Okay, I got it. Yeah, in my imagination, I was imagining insects every once in a while and swarms flying over, and I just needed to correct that. Thanks.
What was the name of the place we just left from? Not the temple, but the whole city.
Sigil District.
No, I mean where we teleported from.
Bazozan.
Bazozan. I asked question as said the mountain imploded. How's the rest of Bazozan?
Perhaps that's a bit over dramatic, but it did. There were quite a bit of collapses and some rock slides. There was, as one can expect, and has been often numerous as of late, demon excursions for several days, but it seems to have been quelled. And then now they do seem to have dug out some places and found access to perhaps an area where some kind of portal existed, and they were actively trying to now shut it down, something they have never been able to access before. Not before you and all your doings.
So maybe, and start to look around and start to. So maybe a place where the unwelcome visitors were a source of that.
Sorry, ask one more time. I just didn't hear.
Maybe that was the source of our unwelcome visitors. That portal.
At least the ones that have been excursioning upon the city as of late. Out in the wilderness, with whatever other portals that were being opened, that is still actively being addressed.
Are there any strange goings on in this area of where are we here again?
Roll for initiative.
This
Ankarel.
is Ankarel is the city, also
Yeah.
known as, I think it's the Jewel of Hope is the is what most people call it. So you'll often hear people just refer to it as the Jewel or something along those. But it's known as the Jewel of Hope. But the city of Ankarel on the continent of Marquette. As of the source in which you speak, not perhaps in what you're thinking. There is extreme political upheaval at all times, something that we must actively fight to prevent. Unsavory folk from doing things within their power at the unfortunate expense of the regular folk. It's part of our mission, you see, as a librarian of the Cobalt Soul.
Are we making pretty good time on our walk, or are we going fairly slow?
Yeah, she's not like, I mean, it's not a casual, not very casual stroll. She's definitely walking with purpose across there. But this city, as you walk, like, you only got a glimpse from a couple stories up of a sprawling metropolis. So as you're walking and walking and walking, like, you start to get a bigger understanding of the scope, like the sheer scope and volume of the city, which is nothing like anything from where y'all are from at all. Like they're like even the capital cities of the Kryn dynasty is still dispersed in sectors and there are populated areas, but nothing that is this giant metropolis like this. It's just completely foreign.
And this is a walled city too, right? I mean, I see walls.
Yes.
There,
The entire city is walled with major entryway gates. Located all around the perimeter.
Okay.
It's like Jerusalem in World War Z.
I just send my raven up, and occasionally just like glance through my raven's eyes, just like a peek here and there, just to getting the scale and size of this place. Guys, I'm probably a little in awe of it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that does definitely help kind of get some level of perception even at like your maximum height, of that like 100 feet away from you. You can't see from one side of the city to the other. It is very big. Like this would be in modern city times like something the size of New York and Manhattan and like the whole greater New York area. Not obviously it's not skyscrapers and whatnot, but the population bustling in a space that large.
I try to take, as we're walking, I try to take special attention to groups that would take notice of us. Maybe everybody is doing it. Maybe that's a fool's thing to do, but I'm just trying to just watch people that take notice of us as we're going.
Yeah, I saw someone roll an insight check earlier, which Bowser got that natural 20, which is why I started telling you a lot about how, true reactions that they had. But go ahead and roll a perception check, just to see, kind of more in lines. Is anybody lingering after or following or doing anything more in that line?
I like being exotic. I'm distracted by myself.
You're distracted. Well, you often are. So yeah, you have a very keen perception here as to the goings on, and you can see these reactions, and there is legitimate like, shock to the sight, especially particularly Balazar and Kazran. You seem to like if someone really gets a good look at you, Brutus, like you really get maybe like okay that's different but the size stature difference you're able to blend a little better than they are. The dark features of Kazran is actually more shocking to those that are than Balazar being a giant dragon man.
Interesting.
There are a lot of elves, lots of elves, and they all look very much like Thena, like the moon elf or wood elves or high elves or any of these different types of things that are all light skinned, fair.
Interesting, considering that we're in a desert.
Mm-hmm. Which is all yes, very much. But they're not tanned like they're like you would
Right.
think that humans would be. The humans
Cosmos
they
tan.
look for lack of a better word, they look Arab, right? But the elves do not. They maintain their fair skin and bright colored hair and all, but even there's a lot of them.
I try to walk close by Kaz, noticing that he's getting more weird glances, just to make sure that if something weird were to happen, that I would be close by.
Okay. Yeah. Like all your perceptions seem to be like really well in line to really get a grasp of that. If anyone's being threatening, a couple of people, like not everyone. I mean, obviously it's not 100% that are just like ooh outsiders or whatever, and just exotic. There's a couple of people mumble and that kind of thing, but no one seems to try to like follow you at this juncture. There has not been enough word spread that you're more than a passing interest by anything that someone should be looking for.
Okay, great.
That
Question.
definitely not yet anyway.
Question: is there a anywhere that we could go to maybe do our own research or delve into some of the history of possibly artifacts and
I
things of that nature?
I nudge her with my elbow and say, "We could join the library group."
And you can see Question kind of turn and perk up. Yes. Well, that would be definitely one very advantageous way in which you might get your questions answered. I will say that there are many gatherers of information. None are often willing to part with that information free of charge or without reservation.
Yeah, I think
Kazran's kind of keeping pace with AO. Just throwing that out there.
There are. That is the thing about not so secret societies, is that everyone knows, so therefore it is difficult to trust.
Speak more plainly today. You trust us more.
What do I know? I mean, did you put something about the cobalt soul other than what you told us, or no?
I have not.
Do I
No.
know more,
Do you know more?
like about their group, or other than just their motto?
what was their motto again?
Reason.
Knowledge, truth. Reason,
Yeah.
knowledge, truth.
I like it.
I would say that it is very unlikely that you'll know much about like anything like from your own background's knowledge of the Cobalt Soul's workings, everyone has kind of heard of them, but no one really knows what they do other than keep knowledge, like extensively, unless you're somehow more involved. Your area of the world is one of the least, like, they don't really have an establishment there like they do in almost every other part of the world, but they still operate. So you can hear, people will mention, there was a librarian here to do, gathering information or fact finding or whatever, or they were here as archaeologists digging up something, or that kind of thing. But you don't know to what purpose. So the only things that you would know would be the things that you ask her, that she tells you very likely directly about that stuff.
So she said that there was a place where would we be able to go to talk to people?
I mean,
Or
her group.
yeah, where is that in the city?
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay. So
That's
yeah,
the
physically,
question.
physically where
Where
to
could
go?
we go?
Yes. Okay. So
Yes.
she would say the guided district is the area of the city dedicated to many of the deities, and we have a temple to Aun, the mentor, there, which is not really much of a temple, to be quite honest. It's really just an extravagant library in the temple district, but we do have some ties
Brad, is
to
their
those that
area
practice.
in that district, is that up on a hill or down in a quarry? Can't tell by the map.
It's down.
I believe it's down. Yeah. Well, no, it depends on what you mean from down. Like,
Like if you're traveling from where we are to the east, would you fall off a cliff to get in there, or would you climb a cliff? That's what
I
I'm trying
think
to determine. I can see it either way.
you climb to get up, and then it's a more up. Like, then there's the city walls, and then there's more up from big mountains near there.
Okay. So it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of on a little shelf. Yeah, and there's another one up on the northwest. The ridge is also on a shelf, if you will.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, the ridge looks more like an up, and then the other one looks more like a down. But maybe that's
But it
just
makes
my.
sense though. It's on the mountain. It's clearly a mountain, so it would have to be drastic. I get it.
Yeah,
Trippy.
the temple of Ayun, in the guided district. They just refer to it as the mentor.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like there's only one way up to that area.
Mm-hmm. Like,
I
as
love
far as
these.
roadway goes, yes.
I love these maps.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, actually. This one's very detailed. I like it a lot. For as big of a span as it covers, this looks pretty cool. Is there anything particular you would like to ask? Question? Anything else?
I mean, we should have questions. I just don't know what to ask, I'm afraid. Oh, I guess so. Maybe. I would ask. Well, I don't know if this is the right time, but I want to ask her, like why should we join her group? What can we offer them? How can we help? Kind of thing. I don't know if that's an appropriate question. So.
Ooh. That's a good interview question. The like, kind of her response is, well, it's very clear that you are chosen, and it is also very clear that your reasons, like all people's reasons, they could have some selfish undertones, but unlike all people's reasons for doing or making choices, yours do not seem to be entirely rooted in selfish desire, but in betterment, in setting things right, in doing things as needed. So your history, in my view, is one that aligns well.
I nod, and I appreciate her answer, I guess.
Now, why might you join the Allegiance instead of the library? Well, in this particular space, they have a lot of researchers. Perhaps researchers that dig into areas that you are interested in. Sure. But I would be wary. They do not have the breadth, and maybe not necessarily the altruism, that the library itself offers. To my taste,
Go ahead.
they are a bit fixated. They worry too much about only the past and replicating and learning of the past, and sometimes to the blindness of the present.
I feel like my mind is made up. That was easy. Very convincing.
Now, I will say, all questions and answers come with a perspective. It's mine. It is my perspective. And as I have made my choice, it is biased. It is you who must make your own choice.
Was the sack of gold for us? They brought that. Was that to help us get underway?
Yeah, effectively, as she described it, which I didn't really go into, is like, like they were given petty cash funds to do their mission or whatever when they were in Bazazan, and they were like, they just pulled their petty cash together and gave it to you as they go back to their respective
Pretty
places.
cash fun. Let's go drinking.
Yeah, really. Well, I assume that's to pay for our, hostel, motel, inn, room.
Well, let's get there. We can't have a drunken brawl without.
Drunks.
Without being drunk first, absolutely. All right, so I was just kind of stretching it a little bit to see if there was any other questions I wanted to ask her before she dropped it off and left. Was really and if there is
That's
something
fair.
discreet.
We were supposed to be asking things, but I'm pleased with what we know so far, and I figure we will get more questions as we poke around. There's some political upheaval going on, or there's I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll just see what's going on at the place.
And one thing she will share is that, if you there is a lot of, I don't want to say hidden information or that kind of thing, that if you moved up any kind of rank within some particular faction, that they'd be willing to give more information. She will tell you bluntly rather, that word, that there are things of direct interest to you that she knows that she just can't tell you because she's not allowed to.
Okay, that's very helpful.
And she's also upfront and fair in saying that that she also knows that the same is true for the professor. In some areas, perhaps more.
So that's fun. So there's some we're getting a forking of the story here a little bit. We'll get some perspective from who we decide to side with. I guess that's cool.
Well, who says we all have to decide the same thing?
Oh yeah, we could just split up. That's always good for a party.
I could recommend the Funhouse. Okay, well, I guess if there's more kind of general questions then we'll just go ahead and say that we, after some lengthy bit of walk, she manages to take you to a large inn and tavern called The Step Aside. And it is, she says, and then it seems to be very well backed, that this is a local favorite. known for its delicious food and very cheery atmosphere. You can hear music and laughter and all kinds of different positive going on sounds coming from the outside as she kind of approaches. And she's like, it's kind of so named as it's an atmosphere that invites people to step aside from their daily troubles and rest a while. So where it kind of got its name.
Perfect.
She's run by a couple of former mercenaries that husband and wife duo that are, and she's going to kind of lean out. So they are very good people in ways I cannot describe. And with that, she kind of leads you in, and you can kind of see a couple of elves behind a counter. And it seems very clear that that's the husband and wife that she was referring to. And she walks up to them and says that you have friends here that that she would like them to take care of. And she says, put it on the tab of the soul. Food and drink
Awesome.
about. Something that I was going to mention, and we hadn't really talked about, so is the rivals aren't here.
Oops.
Have they not been here the whole time? Because I've been.
Oh yeah. He did mention that he was kind of trying to keep up with. I don't know if you caught that, Drad. When
What
we
is
were
that?
walking, he said he was trying to keep up with AO or whatever his name
Oh
was.
no, they decided that they would go their own way, so to speak, for a time being, and that when they have set themselves up established, that maybe they'll reach out again. But they left. They as soon as like questions started leading you, off into this other district, they just split a path and left.
Yeah, I'm really curious if they have ties. I mean, they weren't willing to help her and like attack us at that time because we had some interactions with them. But I wonder if they have ties or if they were just hired by that group or.
The consortium.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you wouldn't call them a
Roll,
rival party for nothing. Come on.
roll an insight check.
Ooh. I want to.
That is a good question. I allow this kind of opened up if any people want to roll an insight check on their thoughts as to this. Thinking back on it, like you were kind of engrossed in what was going on, and when y'all left and they kind of split their own ways, they didn't make a gruff about it. They weren't like, yeah, piss off for leaving y'all behind, or even that they're going to go their own way. They just split off and went their own way. And you're thinking about it, like, where the hell did they go? And like, when you arrived on the rooftop, there was recognition of the area around them.
Ah. Yeah, I suspect that despite our interactions with them, that we need to be cautious of them. Yeah.
You don't think that their mood towards you is negative. In fact, you think that it's friendly, and you believe that, like, they seem thankful because you kind of, in effect, since, Alosia, which is the red robe lady, left them behind, you kind of saved their life in a shitty way, excruciatingly terrible way. And they're kind of it seems like they might have been questioning some stuff, but they definitely left.
So we didn't really notice them leaving? Is that what you're saying? They just kind of like started lagging behind, and
Then they were just gone. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they didn't like, and we're leaving, or they didn't just like, and then split off, and you're like, hey, where are they going? You know, like they were there, and then they were a little bit behind, and y'all were talking with question, and then at what seems like a very opportune moment when you were engaged, they were just not there anymore.
Okay.
And you didn't even really notice it until way later that they weren't there anymore.
Until we get to the tavern and
Like, wait a minute.
wait. Okay.
Where was the ogre that was with us? You know,
Yeah.
like.
Well,
Yes.
maybe we'll get a little bit less attention.
About what time of day is it, Drad?
Actually, that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. It would be. It was like 3.5 to 4 days later. I went in kind of late afternoon into the thing, so it would be late afternoon, approaching evening. Note that it's very difficult to tell because it's just bright as shit everywhere. Even the sun does not seem directly overhead or even really all that visible. I mean, as far as like the sun is just this big ass circle right there, but it's still bright everywhere. And so I guess with that, question kind of drops you off, and then she gives you the map and says your pamphlet of some basic information, and then and she says she'd be in touch, and if there's anything dire, you can catch her through the snow.
I thank her. I'm going to try to get the lay of the area that we're heading into.
Okay, so what do you mean by getting the lay of the air? Like, what would you like to do?
I mean, is it crowded? I mean, I'm assuming that we're going to get some food and whatnot, and I don't know. I guess. I guess I want to get a table or something like that and talk to the group and get their feel of what's going on. So, is there a place we could all sit and
Oh
be in
yeah,
a sort
there's
of corner or something?
they clear off space, some workers and make space, and there's it's not it's a rather well populated establishment, but there's plenty of space for everyone. It's actually quite large inn and tavern. You could almost think of it like a banquet hall in today's terms, as to the size of really how big this place is. Yeah, there's no problem getting you a place to go ahead and sit and start maybe trying to figure out what the hell you're gonna do now.
Eat first. Let's eat and get some beers.
Yeah, we get some food, and Brutus doesn't drink. Oh,
What?
I know.
Why?
I don't know. He's a teetotaler.
So while you're mulling over kind of maybe what you might ask one another or figure out what you're going to do, you can kind of glance at your pamphlet. The it kind of tells you that it's about 300k population, and then the leader is Jamon Saord, who himself founded the city over 400 years ago. Still the leader today.
Oh wow.
The there are a lot of rumors as to what his
Does he have
origins
like a
are,
phylactery?
or the like is. Some people think he's some kind of dragon, like an actual dragon, or some people think he's like something mystical, or some people think that he's dead and reincarnated a bunch of times, or that it's just a puppet that they get that looks alike, and then some people are like, oh, the government, and it's all conspiracy, whatever, right? As to his origins, but he has been the figurehead since Ank'Harel's establishment 400 years ago. The laws are kind of they're based on a specific code that was kind of part of the founding. Theft, exploitation, and murder are the worst crimes. Punishments which range from life imprisonment to permanent exile to death. And they're enforced by the Hands of Ord. That's like the police of this city, the city guard. And then there are judges at the palace for things where culpability is in question in some way. And then overall, worship is, of all the prime deities, is welcomed. Worship of the betrayer gods is punished severely. Someone in possession, even just being in possession of forbidden iconography is
would our
is
amulet
punishable.
qualify as that? In the betrayer's rise, that wasn't a.
Your amulet is iconographic of the Changebringer, which
Are those good guys or
was
bad guys?
That was a prime deity. That is a
Okay.
that is, in their terms, that is a good one.
Okay.
It's really hard to necessarily say that prime versus betrayer are necessarily good versus evil, because it actually didn't. The line wasn't drawn that way. But generally speaking, the prime ones are the good ones, and the betrayer ones are not as good, but not exclusive. Let's see all the districts, because you can see all the districts on the map. Not only is the guided district and the ridge on a elevated piece, but so is the palace in the middle.
Okay.
The clay-rich mountains around, surrounding a vast desert in every direction. And then a lot of canals transport fresh water across the city from massive underground wells and water tables. The oasis in the desert.
The Jew makes sense. Well, Thena, what do you think?
I think everybody else is really quiet.
They are really quiet. I think I'm eager to join in with the the Cobalt. That's the library folks. I think that they'll be a help to us, and I like their mission. So. I also mentioned to the others that I think, because of the disappearance of the other group. I mean, obviously it makes it difficult. This is out of character, but obviously it makes it difficult for the game to go on if we're constantly shadowed by them and they're there for every encounter and all that stuff. But in general, I think we should be careful with when we see them again, and because it seems like they have some connection with that group, and maybe they'll be indoctrinated harder.
Do they have some connection with that group, or are they really just not interested in taking part? I mean, because to some degree, they didn't want to. They're the ones that got the amulet.
And then they gave it to us, yeah.
Right. And they didn't go with us initially. They were like, maybe we'll catch up.
Yeah.
That would have been cool things to ask them.
Yeah? It's true. But they're gone now. So can't.
I was ever gone from the start. I think shot. I think
No, they
question
weren't gone
has
from the
some
shot.
uh, questionable judgment if she thinks that we are a noble group in it for the greater good. However, we are in it. We're in it real fucking deep because I just made a promise to a god. Um, so yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I mean, do we actually have to join to get information from
I,
them?
I mean, I think that's the right track. I think that's the fast track for getting information, and then we kind of start from there. And I want to play for the altruistic team. At least that's what Brutus wants to do, yeah. And I mean, realize we have some party dynamic going on, so that's what I wanted to try to discuss here at this table. I mean, we can investigate the others and try to find out what's going on more, and maybe mingle around here and just find out if the people running around the tavern, or maybe even the owners, uh, if they know something about it, that might be a good place to ask. And what are the common perceptions of you know
Well, the owners seem to be pretty friendly with
right
questions,
right,
so I
and
don't
they
know
have a
that they
tab
would
here.
have an unbiased.
Yeah, well, it still might be helpful to get their take on it things. But I absolutely have no idea what we're supposed to do next, except investigate the factions and join maybe one of them, unless like while we're sleeping, something crazy happens. We don't know.
Balthazar still here? Did he fall asleep after having a beer?
Also, just hanging out, man. He's just knocking them back, thinking about the fight. Didn't get to kill a bad guy. Almost died in a city where he's special. He's all about getting attention.
I mean, we could certainly go back to the other tavern and poke around there and see what
Oh, you want to go to the back to
consortium.
the bazaar?
Hmm.
I mean, not today, but yes, maybe.
Yeah, Balsar wants to take a nap. He's a tired lizard.
Yeah. I wanna heal up myself. So
All right, so I'll
let's
go up and
take a rest.
ask the innkeepers if they could show us, or not I mean the owners, if they can
We
show
could get
us to
some
our
rooms. Yeah.
rooms. Yeah.
We can
Room-
get our own rooms.
I don't think it's a
Yes,
good
please.
idea. Okay.
He has a point. It might not be a good idea, but let's do it anyways.
Everybody
We
has their
shared
own
a
room. Oh,
room
okay.
and a small hovel the entire journey.
Yeah, I know. It would be nice to have some time away from the smelly,
Balasar wants to get naked.
smelly, snory
Elves. Yeah.
Hey, what are you saying?
boys.
Hey,
All
man.
right.
We probably
We
don't.
get some
We're
rest
visitors.
then,
We don't have BO.
and we'll meet back for breakfast and decide what we're gonna do.
Okay, why don't we all just take a break for breakfast then? Come
Perfect.
back in a minute.
Okay.
Our
perfect.
breakfast in the morning is to be
8-ish.
deciding on.
All right, we are back from our break. We are officially kind of back into it. We took a little bit of time to reorient ourselves on what we know and don't know, kind of away from the game here. And so I think we have a good place to be, and so I'm just going to turn it over to the players.
So before we wake up, Car's gonna drunk dial someone, and I sent that to Dread. And also, while he's kind of waiting for that, I use sending to do that on my new spells, but I want to send a message to my brother in the other room. But I'm gonna wait till I can like hear him snoring, and then I'm gonna send him a message. But I'm gonna try to do like a dog barking until I hear him not snoring anymore. And it's like, what's that? And I'm gonna stop. And I'm gonna wait till he falls asleep again, and then I'm gonna send a message of like a cat meowing. And I'm gonna do that for a little bit until I pass out.
You're awful.
uh,
I'm gonna, after they kind of head off to their, I mean, I guess we all headed off to our rooms, but after we sort of split up, since I don't need really as much sleep as them, I'm gonna head back down to the tavern and just kind of sit in the middle and listen to people, watch them, people watch. Uh, See if I can just sort of pick up on like places to go, things to do. I don't know. Get a feel for the daily lives of the city.
I'm waiting to see if Wolfen kicks my ass or not.
is that his perception roll to see if he figured out what it is?
Do I even notice? Up, and I just go to sleep. I mean, cat. Cats are stupid. Shut up, cat.
This place is so loud. Always so loud. Keep getting woke up.
Yeah, I don't think I can send anything back at this point. But another night maybe. Message is a cantrip. I can do that all night long.
Yep. Okay, and so Athena was talking about doing something, but I heard the words, but I don't know what you were doing.
I'm just sitting in the bar listening for anything of interest, which I'm assuming mostly is people just bitching about their jobs and their bosses and complaining about their wives over late night drinks. But no, like we all went to our rooms, and then since I don't really need to like sleep all night, I just figured I'd go back down and like hang out and listen for a few more hours before I
Yeah,
go
roll me an
officially to bed.
investigation check. Investigation.
Pretty good roll.
Boom.
You discover that
The
Marty
keys
has
to
been
secrets
cheating on his
to
wife
eternity.
for 4 weeks.
Athena, what languages do you know?
Thieves can't, common, elvish, and giant.
You do know thieves can't, don't you?
Yes.
Thieves can't. Is that like jive speak?
It's like
You speak jive.
Hey, blood.
Oh, Airplane is such a good movie. Oh man.
Yeah. I speak jive.
Stewardess, I speak jive. This old lady. It's great.
Yeah.
Old white lady at that. That's great.
You uncovered all the secrets of the city. Listening to the tavern people.
That natural 20 is stellar. And I'm typing something, so feel free to
I
continue
know.
to ask and do things while I type stuff.
Meanwhile, Wolfen's like, is that a fucking baboon?
Brutus is meditating / snoring.
This is one very unfortunate part about not getting to be in person is this would be a whispers. Ah, I love whispers. When I get to tell secrets to people.
You take her down channel if that'd be easier for you.
No, I'm gonna type it. It's okay.
Okay.
Well, that is a good
I
idea.
mean, for the
though.
future,
Yeah.
maybe just every now and
Talking
then.
about channel.
Is there
It's
anybody
definitely eas-
playing dice in the tavern? Supposedly I'm good at dice.
Too many trains of thought. Too many trains of thought.
Okay. You said keep talking.
Nice thing though. That you can't do in person.
Brutus is dreaming of
It's
breaking
moving
into a museum.
No, I'm dreaming about being in the zoo. All right.
It's a good thing your name's not Brutus.
Oh yeah, shit.
I mean, they'd be names.
We're both lizard people.
Oh.
Oops, that's not right. I do it every freaking.
Balzar's Echo's turn.
It is his turn. It's always his turn.
I feel better, so much better.
I'm ready for bacon. I'm ready for eggs, biscuits, hash browns. Ooh.
Maybe there was a jungle around here before a desert came. That's what I want to find out.
It seems like that city. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. He called the name. Sorry, go ahead.
So after I'm gonna say that I kind of like went to bed at like midnight, and so I meditated for 4 hours. So at around like 4:35 a.m., before the rest of everybody is like up and down trying to get breakfast, I'm gonna go in to Brutus's room and tell him that we need to talk before we go down to like the public area. And then we'll go wake up the other two and meet in Kaz's room or Belisar's room, since I assume he'll be the hardest to get out of the bed.
Allosaurus and
He's
bacon.
got no more than 20 minutes of sleep in a row all night long.
Oh no.
Why'd my brother fail to protect me?
It's like
He fell asleep
it's like
on the
having
job.
an infant, like a brand new right out of the hospital
yeah.
baby infant.
Whew, yeah.
Up every
That's
20
fun.
minutes.
I just want to point out, like, by elf terms, Kazrin is super, super, super young. If he was raised as a elf or a drow, he probably wouldn't quite be let on his own yet, but his circumstances were different.
So guys, I overheard something last night that I think might give us a point in the right direction for maybe where Elysium is. The Alliance seems to have found an entrance into Kaer Morrow. Not sure what that is, but I'm guessing it's in the city somewhere. and it's
It's that big friggin' hole.
well, they have there's ruidium down there, which
Oh, which they're digging.
they're mining, yeah. And the consortium also know about it. So that should give us maybe some poking, or at least Karamaro we could research.
Okay, well that means that we're definitely gonna have to make friends with them, but we don't necessarily have. Well,
Does it?
oh, you think we should just sneak
I mean,
around down there?
Try
Well,
to.
I feel like before we, that is excellent lead. I feel like before we, like, go there, we need to. I think we should make some kind of connection with the Cobalt group.
I mean, if
Simply because we need to know more about the amulet before we carry on. I mean, we can. Obviously, that's where we need to go. That's
Alright,
great
well,
lead.
let's go to the guided district first and check out some of the deity temples. And while we're there, we can go to the Cobalt library.
Yeah. Is that the envelope-looking thing in the western side of the guided district, or is that something else?
No, I don't think it's the envelope thing. I think
It's a building over there.
blue round thing.
No, it's a You've Got Mail icon.
So I'm gonna wake up.
I honestly do not actually know which building is which. There's not that level of detail. It's a
We
pretty
just
map.
pretend. Yeah, so
we're
let's.
gonna wake up. We're gonna get breakfast.
Yeah.
And then, while I'm eating breakfast, I'm gonna ask my waitress and the barkeep what they think about each of the factions.
Oh,
What do you
excellent.
know about these guys? What do you know about these dudes? You know,
Roll a
Instead of-
persuasion check.
instead of metagaming this.
Balasar
Persuasion?
persuading?
Here
Yeah.
it goes.
Balasar's trying to persuade the kids.
Excellent.
Persuasive. And then I want to re-roll my persuasion check with a gold coin.
Yep. Go ahead.
Slightly more persuasive.
And then I need you to roll an insight as well.
Can I educate my insight? Can I go to school real quick? Can I pay tuition?
It was on, it like hovered on 20 for like half a second.
Hey.
So the waitress, you can see when you ask, you're just straight up like, tell me about the librarians. Tell me about the university. And tell me about the consortium. Who's the good ones? Who's the bad ones? And then you can just kind of see her like, what the fuck is he? What? What is he asking? Especially, because you can see that she's also taken a little bit aback because you're,
Sir, this is
I'm
a Wendy's.
gorgeous.
You're
I'm
a
beautiful.
Giant. You're a giant, and she's a little frail, half elf.
So while he's blubbering around with them, trying to get the waitress to say anything other than, what else would you like, sir?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go talk to the owners, who might actually know something about the faction.
Is the waitress attractive?
To you? I mean, I don't know.
What, I don't know.
How
I
much
mean,
have you had to drink yet?
by elf standards.
By elf standards,
All elves are attractive. you
yeah,
don't-
say the unnaturally.
But she's a half elf, so she could have got that witch's nose from her dad, or who knows.
You see, all elves are attractive as Catherine's like just stuffing bacon down his mouth, and he's got little bits of crumbs and stuff coming down. And he
That
kinda
is
smiles.
attractive.
She was not hired just for her personality.
For personalities, got it.
She is one of the many tools here at the Step Aside. That perhaps will let you step aside from the rigors of your regular life.
Oh, it is
She's too
Horas.
pretty for me.
Jorhas.
No, I said what I said.
The waitress, is happy to engage you in conversation, and it seems like she's answering questions. But by the time that she walks away, you're like, we were talking, and I asked questions, and she seemed like she was responding, but she didn't tell you anything. It was all vagaries and kind of deflections and things like that. She's not going to. You could already tell that she was a little restrictive about openly making any kind of declarations about one of the major factions in a public space, for the positive or negative. Yeah, they're all great. They all do their own thing, whatever, kind of thing. And
Yes, that is a faction in this city. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, thanks for your assistance, and if you don't mind, on your way back around, can you bring my brother here some more bacon?
Like brother, and she's like,
It's me. It's me.
Bring him. Yep. I'll bring him some more bacon.
Thank you.
I mean, and you have kind of like a blank check for the bill, right? So,
Yep.
And so you can get all the bacon you want, but then also be like, and put a little tip on there, just.
We're not paying our bill yet.
No,
They're
we
still
don't
doing the
have to.
buffet.
It's
Not
on.
paying a bill, it's on tab.
Yeah,
Put us on tab.
I mean, they still gotta,
Mm-hmm.
And so you wanted to go talk to the owners, okay?
Yeah. Start off
Irawan
by-
and Kalinau. Kalinau.
Start off by telling them how impressed I am by their fine establishment and superior beds, especially compared to where we have been sleeping. Which
It
has
is
been
our
mostly
pleasant
on
hope
the
to
ground.
get everyone the reprieve they need from the life they endure.
What is your full list of amenities?
Oh my.
I don't really have a prepared answer for that. Music and entertainment and food and dancing and companionship.
So, another adventuring group. You're not holding them up, are you? Or are they went elsewhere?
Are you asking them?
Yeah, I'm asking them if we're. I'm trying to get information about the other group if they're maybe holding them up as well. They'd probably stick out like we would. We do.
Holding them up is a weird way to say it. That sounds like they're robbing them.
No, they are not here. No, the other group is not in this inn. Only locals, and you. You are the main attraction.
Do you not get many out of towners come through here?
It's not uncommon. It's always a point of excitement, but it's usually a lot more of the local folk.
How old is the city? How did the orcs and elves and humans come together here?
Has the city ever been destroyed in its past?
No, too fast.
Yes.
You're
there.
way too fast. Balls deep.
How old? 400 years. Same founder, still the leader today. 400 years ago.
Okay, that was founded then too. Sorry, I missed that before.
Yeah. The same founder, Jim Saord. Wait, I think there's a syllable missing from that.
Jamon
Jamon
Saw
Saord.
Ord.
Founded nearly out of necessity after the calamity. Most of all of Marquette was in ruin, and so many people had to scramble together out of the remnants of what was left of the area to find some way to survive and to thrive. And then the question was like, where did all the orcs and elves come from? Was that seriously the gist of the
Like,
question?
There's some places where there's not a lot of orcs and humans and elves together. It's a pretty unique distribution here. So just were there, I don't know, was everyone from the calamity just kind of came back together? Did you rebuild in old ruins or?
Well, I would, I mean, like some of yourselves, like all are welcome here in Oncarel. But most of the locals, or those that have lived here throughout the generations, are in some semblance from the area. There are ruins of older cities from the calamity, and even perhaps after, that are from this place. There is some remnants still down near the aqueducts of some older city.
I think that this city is actually built on the older city. That's my thought because it has the same name. And from the dream, they said it had been destroyed centuries ago by the same name, right? This one was only established 400 years ago, but I guess, yeah, so that's something weird about that. When was the calamity? That was
Wow.
A thousand years ago.
Why
Yeah.
do you say it has the same name?
because the graffiti on the wall.
Said Marquette.
Well,
That's
where?
the continent.
Oh, Marquette. Oh.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
okay.
continent does have the same name, but the city does not.
Okay, gotcha.
So what's outside the city?
To be frank, nothing for a very long ways.
Nothing but deserts, jungles.
Sand and thirst.
Yeah, jungles. That's a good question. Were there ever jungles in this area?
Jungles? Not in my lifetime.
How long have you guys been in the city? Here.
The elves have actually been here a while. They were mercenaries out of Oncaril,
Oh, out of Oncarel.
a long time ago. And they are elves, so they're very long lived, but not like founding old, but longer than most. They've been here a couple hundred years at least. I don't know exactly how long. I really don't. But some of the notes do point to very long, couple hundred years. Probably not back to the founding.
Yeah, I think I want to check out the River District.
Oh, can we ask them if there's a temple of Coralon in the city?
Of Coralon. It's one of the prime deities. Magic, I think. Actually, I tried to think about it. I don't remember who. If Coralon is the god of magic, I think, of the prime deities. I have to look. I will have to look at that.
Arcane deity of arcane magic and fae. Coralon created the first elves, and so they're considered the mother and father of all elves. And they are prime deity.
Well, he's
The
looking at.
answer is yes, but it's not one of the POIs that's been built.
Pew.
Point of interest.
Point of interest.
What are some of the notable religious points of interest here?
I mean, clearly it's the university, the place we landed, the whatever the headquarters
Tower.
of the library is,
Palace. Palace thing.
palace, this hole in the middle in the Sigil district, and the river district. That's too fancy. Look at it's absolutely enormous. Plus it's filled with water, and plus they were talking about the fact that the Athena uncovered the fact that they're digging up something.
Are you in character or not? Like we're standing in front of the owners, talking to them. Are you talking out loud, or are you just
No, I'm not talking. I'm not saying all this stuff.
okay?
Hey, want me to shut up?
No, I'm just
So
confused.
Dradicus,
You're
same
confusing
question.
me.
She wants you to RP it.
What is so the question? What is the question?
It was. Are there any significant religious places here that's in your listing, possibly?
Yes. There's 4 in the guided district specifically. There is the Blessing Well.
That's that big ass well water thing there. Fountain.
So this is in the guided district itself. There's the Blessing Well. There is something called the Crossings of Eventide, which is a necropolis, which is a giant temple dedicated to the Matron of Death, the Raven Queen. There is the Tower of Memory. That's actually the male. You got male.
Moonweaver, Change Bringer. I guess that's the things I'm listening for. Just things that are familiar to us.
And then the Mentor. Those are the 4 major POIs. Everything else are exist, but are of not. I mean, they're just more generic buildings as opposed to something extravagant.
What? Just out of curiosity, what other cities are in Marquette? None as grand as this one, I would assume.
Oh no, it is the jewel for a reason.
When I scroll into that world map, I mean, I guess I would know this anyway, but it gets real blurry. Where are we in Marquette? Is that what's in the center?
Oncorel is kind of in the center of Marquette, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
It opens it up in a little more interactable way in a browser, and then you can click on a spot to zoom in. There's not much marked on the Marquette map, as it turns out. Not on this one, anyway.
What
Yeah,
about?
Not that you know much about Marquette.
No.
Where'd you get that map, Riv?
What about pre-calamity? say your people had to rebuild, but was Marquette always whole as it is now, or was there used to be more of it?
Don't think that they would know the answer to that.
Okay.
They are old, but they're not calamity old. And there's not really. That's far enough back in history that people don't really know what things looked like back then, except for maybe some of the researchers or books or maps or something that would exist, but that wouldn't be pretty common.
What are the like the best sights to see in the city, you know, for someone who's never been here before?
For someone that's never been here before, there's a couple of things that they would probably say that are some of the POIs on the map and then just some thoughts to think about. Their perspective is biased to the fact that most of all that they know is giant desert. So all the really cool oasis-y type things are very powerful in a lot of ways to the locals and to even people that aren't from necessarily Oncorel, but from the surrounding desert area, which expands for a very long ways. So there's literally a garden. And then there's actually a couple of gardens. There is basically there's like a biodome called the Life Dome. It's a giant agricultural hub in the River District that is a miracle of science and magic for the desert. And then
Perhaps we could do what they would expect some tourists would do, and we could meet our friend at the River District. And actually, as a person of magic and a little bit of science, I think I wouldn't mind checking that out.
the River District also has something called the Steam Gardens, which is an arboretum and bathhouse that is popular amongst those with money and visitors.
Oh, that sounds neat.
And there's all kinds
Okay.
of other pieces.
Tourist trap? Tourist trap? Is it for a tourist trap?
Mm-hmm. Who's up for River District first?
I can send a message to our friend and have her meet us.
Yep. Okay. I want to check out the places, like the entrances to the aqueducts.
Why are we having her meet us? Why don't... I mean...
I just figured someplace we could talk and gotta meet somewhere to talk.
Not in public? Okay.
Yeah, not like crowded streets. Maybe we could, on the. That's what in my head. That's what I'm seeing.
So let's
Spy
go
movie.
to a not crowded steam room. That'll...
Bathhouse meeting. Let's do it. I like it.
Bathhouse? Bathhouse? Okay.
Okay, so you want to go to the River District then? So
we do.
All right, we'll head over that direction and.
One point as a side note, that has been our least awkward interaction with an NPC yet. Us as a group, I think we've grown.
Yeah, so before we leave, I'm just gonna say, thanks so much for all the food and lodging and the information, and we'll see you tonight.
Excellent. We weren't given an end date for your stay, so feel free to return when that reprieve from life needs or calls.
So when it's like as we're just kind of leaving, when it's just us at a table, I guess I'll use my sending stone. Just, I don't know how long, a few hours.
I mean, what's the difference between that and your normal messages?
Okay, sending is like going to be like CB talk, where I can say 25 words and they can say 25 words. It's not going to be a real good conversational thing. It's just
Sending is technically a level 3 spell that can send a message anywhere in the world. And can
But
even send things across planes with a chance of failure.
but she gave me a stone, so I can just use that. So it's not like us talking back and forth here. So it's probably good for us to try to meet somewhere.
The
say-
message spell's the cantrip, and that one is basically within a couple 100 feet. You can send a message to someone if you know
Where
what
they
direction
are.
they're in
Okay. Okay.
within that
But,
short range. And that
but
one you
you
can do
gave
for free.
but you gave me a sending stone. Question gave me a sending stone. That's who it came from, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah. I knew what you're doing, but I know that you also had like the cantrip message that I wasn't sure what the.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. That's short distance. That'd be like if we were fighting or something, and I just need to get a quick message to you.
2 buildings over. Pizza's done. Come eat. Whatever.
Yes. So I'll send a mess through the stone to question. Going to visit the river district. Hear nice things. Up for uh, up for a bathhouse visit? We can talk. I should have mentioned it's all of us.
That's within 25 words. Is that it?
Yeah.
Beep. Send.
A brief moment goes by before you actually do hear a response. And then unlike the sending, the sending spell, normally you cast the spell and it goes into their mind and then they speak and it comes back into your mind, right? The stone talks like in some way, like, was it Billy Bass or whatever, the fish that talks and flaps or whatever? When the message comes back, the mouth on the stone actually moves, and then the voice comes out publicly, right in the area of where, of like where you're standing, like not like a loudspeaker, like bullhorn kind of thing, but it's right there, and it is out loud. And she goes, "Oh, sorry, I had to run out of my meeting real quick." The bathhouse, you say? Yes, I can meet you there.
I would also like to make use of my trait, City Secrets. Just all the secret patterns and flows to cities. I just want to make us stand out a little less. I just want to like kind of get in with the flow of people and kind of navigate through.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the actual effect of that feature.
So you can travel between 2 locations in the city twice as fast as your speed would normally allow when not in combat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You get
So
the hustle
it's
and
more,
bustle.
yeah, it's just kind of more for RP. Like I said, I just want to make it not stand out as much and just kind of go in with the flow. Hopefully, that's the intent.
One thing that you notice as you kind of come out is that very similar to like a fancy hotel, there is someone outside of the tavern that you didn't notice on your way in that is assisting a couple of locals into a small carriage that then drives off. And they kind of turn to you as you kind of get ready to leave and head that direction. It's like, care
Hell
for a
yeah, let's
taxi?
get-
Why?
Excellent.
Yes, we do.
You can see that they just kind of put a hand up to you like this, just wait right there, and then they kind of run off into the street, like literally flagging somebody down because it's a lot more random commotion or whatever, and then the carriage rolls up, and then you can all get in the carriage and then whisk away to the river district.
Excellent.
Yeah, I just
We should
enjoy the
also,
ride and check out the city as we go.
as we're riding, I mentioned that if we have a minute or we see something, we should stop and stock up on some supplies too. Pan flute and healing kits.
Ooh.
Pan flute.
you got a little bit of money on you guys, so you're welcome to stop at a particular general store or something along that, or you can try to find something a little more exotic. That will not be as easy to find, but it does exist.
About,
Exotic.
Question may know some spots in the city that we can go
By
to.
exotic, I mean like there's not just a big magic item shop, you know what I mean, like in a typical RPG, but there might be places that have things that are more than healing kits and bedrolls and 10-foot poles and whatever random general goods.
10-foot ladder.
Yeah, right. Like Home Depot, you can find a Home Depot in every corner, right? But the more luxury goods or things like that, you would have to actually investigate or search for or something.
Yeah, everywhere we've been have been war torn, and they've had no supplies, and this place still everything looks like in abundance. So
I am keeping my eye out for anything that looks like it's selling pelts or buying pelts.
Buying and
Pelts.
selling pelts. You
Yeah.
still have that
Warbounder pelt?
Sure
the
do.
Warbounder pelt. Okay, excellent.
That's awesome.
it might be exotic stuff here.
Roll an investigation check. I'm interested to see what you find, because depending on this roll depends on what thing catches your eye, which might affect what they'd be willing to buy or sell or what price. That's reasonable. Okay, I think you find, there's as you kind of traverse around, there are different like the districts themselves seem to have an overall theme, but they also seem to have replications of people that are just trying to do businesses, because the city's big enough that you need a Starbucks in many different places, right? So same kind of things. There's, clothing shops and food shops and things like that quite often, and there's also some armorers and, like blacksmiths and leather tanners and this kind of thing spread out in pretty much most of the districts that you go through as well. And you find a tannery, oddly enough.
Knock, knock, knock. Hello? Anyone here?
Yes. Looking to buy?
Offload some weight.
Oh, to sell. Now, we have a reasonable stream of logistics. Anything in particular?
Yeah, hold on. Set my bag on the counter and I unstrap this package. Like, and then I just whip this rug out and try not to cut the shit out of myself with it. Like, we got this off a cat back in I can't remember where it was.
Jorhas?
But back in that place.
Back in... Oh my god, what is this?
Yeah, my little friend over there had a cape made out of it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually kind of show off that cape so you can see what you can do with this material.
But it's pretty
I try to
durable,
upsell it.
and I'm tired of carrying it around.
And you say this is a cat of some sort? What a beast of a cat this must be.
Indeed, it's
It was rough.
bigger than a horse.
Bigger than a horse? You probably take a moment to describe what a moorbounder actually is, and that this was some kind of weird, like, feral, barbed, demonic mixed.
Yeah, it was a
Make more
cat
about
that had some problems, and this is what the pelt looks like.
Super tough hide, very rare. Even where we got it from here. Whew.
Super sharp.
If you have artisans who could
What
make
is the
something.
value of the pelt in your inventory? What
Uh,
value did I put on it?
I don't think you put a value on it. I think we
had
put a
one.
fucking it's
We
heavy
typed
value on
in.
it.
Yeah, we typed it in.
No, there's no value on the market of pelt.
Okay, I didn't put a gold value on it. Let me look and see.
Nope.
I put
We just
wrote it
put
down.
it's heavy value.
It's heavy AF, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I got these tusks from the same things. You could use them for like buttons and stuff. And like clasps.
And he's gonna look at this, and then he's gonna say, "Just wait right here a moment. I need to fetch my partner." and they go into the back, and you can see, they come back out with someone else, and then they're looking at it, they're feeling, they're taking like little. Is like, do you mind if we do some tests on it? We won't
Yeah,
hurt
feel
it.
free to hit it with a hammer. If I, it's pretty durable.
And so they take out like these little bottles of like different chemicals, and then they put on it and touch, and then they feel, and they rub with their hands, and then they're like, this is beyond anything that we have ever seen.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear it as a shirt.
My finished cloak says 45 gold pieces, but that was only a partial of the pelt.
Yeah, because the other guy kept the rest of it, right? As part of your
Yeah,
price.
that was part of his payment, yeah.
You have these tusks and this pelt. They kind of whisper, and then you can see them like rubbing, like tapping their chin, like they're actually kind of nervous. Roll an in. I want everyone in the shop to roll an insight check.
Copycat.
Where's inside? Oh, there.
Jeez. Louise. Ah, there you go.
Okay, Thena and Brutus, you both get the sense that these are veteran people that have done bartering and done like for years, right? And they are so damn giddy that they can't even hold it in. And they're gonna turn to you, and then they're gonna say, "We'll give you." And then that, like the one they look, and then they're like trying to pretend like and then the other one nods. We'll give you 800 gold pieces for it. The tusks and the pelt.
And we think that's lowballing. Brutus can't keep a straight face to be like, oh, they're lowballing us. Let's get out of here. Let's leave.
I mean, that does sound pretty good. It does, and it's not my problem. It's not your problem that I carried this forever for probably no reason.
But you would like a little bit more compensation for your
But let me
work.
confer with my dainty fellows over here. They're a little bit cleverer than me. I don't want to get fooled and then get hit in the head for it, you know. They're a little mean to me sometimes.
What's everyone's passive
I kind of
perception?
whisper. I whisper to him. I say, it sounds
What's my
like
passive perception? 13.
13, 15, 15. So two of you have a 15 passive perception. Okay.
I don't even know where that is.
Your main page.
The main page. The when you turn, like when you're like turning to confer with them, Brutus, Athena, you both have a 15, which was what I kind of said as the DC. We're looking at this. You can see them like nudging one another, like, and then like this just very like abrupt movements, and then like a nudge, and like whatever, like as they're turning around. It's very subtle.
I didn't notice it, but come on, it's payday, bitches.
Yeah, I just whisper.
So I'm yeah.
I just whisper to him. I say, I suspect they're lowballing you, even though that sounds like a good price. And so, take that for what you will.
I tell them, like, grab it and start to walk out with it slowly.
But I don't want to do that. This is heavy.
Trust me.
It's like this thing might be like 4 of a kind in all of your continent. Right.
Trust me.
And they don't exist in this continent.
The
The
Moorbounders
Moorbounders,
do not
right?
exist on this continent. at
Okay,
all.
okay.
Seems to be
So-
the
So I turn around.
especially demonic infused more
I
balanced.
turn around at full height. Right, like. So thing is, my friends think we should get more opinions because I don't know what I'm talking about. So they're gonna make me carry this thing around town and to see what other people say. And yeah, I'll be taking and asking around just in case. It's not that I don't trust you guys. They just don't trust me to make a good decision. So
I kind of lean back and try to discreetly cast
I do appreciate your time, though.
a message to my brother. It's like, now take it and slowly walk away.
You can see
I
them
stick a finger in my ear and
shifting,
wiggle it around like what the fuck?
You pick it up and then you start to slowly turn and walk away, and you can see that they kind of get.
No, I start rolling it up in front of them.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, rolling it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go check other places.
I gotta strap it back to my bag. I go through all the extra effort. They're gonna watch me go through the effort.
You see them start to get a little uneasy, and the other one kind of leans over and then just kind of cups, one hand over as he whispers something in the other one's ear, and then the partner, the one that wasn't there at first, says, "Well, perhaps the gold plus some trade. We have some. I have something that is mine that, judging by the look of you might find interesting."
Gold
What
and
would that be?
tradesies?
I cast detect magic, and I don't hide this. I'm like, how interesting. And then detect magic.
What? I'm so confused. What just happened? You cut off
me,
the car. Your whisper didn't come through very well.
He said
That-
detect magic. He's
Yeah.
casting
Yeah.
detect magic in
And-
front of them.
And then
And I
Oh,
want
you
to
start-
see what they got. If they got something that maybe really is something nice.
you should ask first.
We did ask them.
Yeah, I was just like, let's see what you got. But I didn't
Oh.
keep it secret that I was casting something to enhance my vision.
Okay. So that one gets up and he turns around and walks into the back, and then you can see him like this is they're both elves, right? And by comparison to Balazar, like they're tall and slender, but they are still frail, tiny little things, right? And this guy comes out and he's wrapped in his giant cloth is something that he's holding like barrel chested, like both arms, struggling to carry it like tied up against his chest as it comes in. And it's this something very long and relatively thin, but obviously very heavy and very large by comparison to the elf. And he sets it under this table, and then he just kind of starts, pulling the cloth back on either side. This just long counter in front of you and then Kazran, you pick up as soon as this cloth pulls back. This starts glowing immediately. A very, very large sword that is in the scabbard has runes and innate leatherworking, studded with all this like actual carvings into the leather all the way down. The hilt, very finely woven. The cross guard, ornate, and
I reach over and I grab Cosmo's chest and the scruff of his clothes and then pull his head next to mine and be like, I want it.
I believe my brother here, gold in this item just might be acceptable.
So, let's say this wonderful piece and 600 of the gold.
It's up to you, brother.
All right. I like the trade idea. I like the gold idea. We're also here for other business, and we might need to purvey some other goods for my friends. And could you kind of include some inside information? We might be able to get a good deal somewhere, you know?
And you can see that, like, you can see him rubbing his chin now, like this big grin.
Just some information.
Like he's got
you
this
know?
kind of like wispy beard. It's almost like comic, like evil villain, like pointy beard that is just stroking, and is like, yes, and his eyes are just bright, like almost literally flashing. Yes, I believe I could definitely point you into someone who could give you a deal. What kind of goods are you looking for?
Potions.
Rings.
Potions, rings.
Potions, nice rings, probably magical, right? Is
Yes.
that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, magical jewelry. You know, nice, unique antiquities and, you know, stuff like that too, you know?
Also,
Uh-oh.
what can you tell us about the factions?
Oh, don't get the politics involved in this.
Well, first off, Gustav. He's the place. His place is the place.
We want to go to Gustav's. All right.
And then he kind of points out to where that is, somewhere in the Sigil district. He's a purveyor of all well manicured sets of things that are above reproach when it comes to both ability and skill and quality. For things of magical nature, I don't think you could ask for better. Legally. He just kind of shrugs.
Yeah. Legally preferred. We don't want to get in trouble in town.
Kind of hint. It takes a, and it kind of hints that there exists actual fencers in town, and probably a significant number of them.
Yeah, big city.
That you might for goods beyond that are not necessarily beyond reproach. And about the factions, what would you like to know?
I guess what any interactions you have with them.
Interactions, general consensus, popular feelings towards them.
You're a businessman. You may not be biased. Just what kind of business do you like to do with them?
Do you want to know what they say, or do you want to know what they do?
We want to know what they do. We've heard what they say.
He kind of leans in, even though there's nobody here. And he says, well, I think what they say and do at least matches in the case of the consortium. They want. And sometimes they take. Sometimes they pay well. If you don't agree to them paying well, then they'll take. The allegiance, all they care about is that damned ruin. All the old ways, all the old stuff, old this, old that.
Do we know the name of the ruin?
You didn't, well.
Okay, can I just... He said all they care about is that ruin. What ruin?
Oh, the old city. The one before this, before the world was destroyed.
Hell yeah.
And do you know the name of it? Does anyone know the name of it?
Oh, everyone just calls it the ruin, but I think it used to be called Care something.
Okay. All they
Poker
care
face,
about is the
everybody.
old ruin. Anything else about the alliance? Allegiance?
They're selfish with the things that they know, and the things that they let you know that they know is short compared to what they're hoarding behind. They do so much in secrecy.
And the Cobalt Soul?
Well, there's secrecy with them too, but at least their secrecy is obvious, at least to those here trying to get their intention. If you're trying to set something up that puts one over on your neighbor, well, you may just not be there tomorrow.
Understood.
Well, we appreciate your help. We are new here, obviously, A deal's a deal.
There's a lot of politics here across Marquette. Many different people playing strings of one versus the other. Many people trying to supplant the good that all of us hard-working folk trying to put into the world.
And the founder, what of him? Is he involved, absent, public?
Now that's a strange thing. See, he's well involved, and things are always decrees this, and stuff is getting taken care of, and thievery's put asunder, and we don't have to really worry about crime all too much, even with this many people squashed next to one another. Not like other places, mind you. And he's always, it's always the tip of the tongue. He's always there, but yet no one ever sees him. I've never seen him.
Interesting. So, brother, I think you have a new toy to play with here.
You wanna check it, make sure it's
You want to
not-
ask them, can we
Where'd
get
they
like
get it?
identifying information about it, or
Yeah.
like can we know if it's like a plus +1 to +5 to?
to strength?
I wanna. They should know something about it, or maybe they don't.
Yep. It is. They will describe in non-game mechanics ways, effectively, that it is a +1 greatsword. So it is
Excellent.
magical and +1 to attack and +1 to damage.
Hell yeah.
We're just out of curiosity, where'd you find this or get it from, or?
They're traders. They just.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
just
saying,
curious. It's not many giants.
We're asking a lot of questions.
Alright,
Let's get out of here.
I'm paying for it. Not many giants are in this town, so I'm just curious where they acquired it.
Well, to be honest, it was just part of a good deal that we made. It was just like this one. Goods for goods, sweeten the deal to put things over the top. They didn't have quite enough cash on hand, but they were willing to part with this. And to be honest, it didn't look like that was something that they could wield either. Something they had got, probably in a similar chain. It's history. Don't really know anything about it. But it's definitely magical. And and then of course they describe in a way of how well it cuts and how it's guided by magic.
Neat.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, let's get out of here, guys. Let's get to the
Well-
district.
I appreciate all of your assistance and to be free of this weight. And I hope we meet in good company again.
Who is the last one out the door?
Guess it would be me packing shit up.
No, because you don't have to pack anything. Like, you gave
Yeah,
them all the stuff.
I had to get stuff out of my bag to get the pelts and then to do all, whatever.
I was
I didn't
picturing
have
me
to do any
being
packing.
last, but
Oh yeah,
I was
because
I was picturing Brutus as being first out to like scan the street, so probably not me.
Balazar is the last one up. Balazar, I need you to roll a perception check.
Perception.
As you're walking out, you can hear them say with excitement, they're whispering to one another very excitedly about the possible business ventures that this will bring them, and how much money they're going to make as a result of it.
Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Best to put it behind us. Let's not think about it. Let's not dwell on it.
yeah, I mean, getting a magical sword. I mean, it would have been worth that,
Yeah.
honestly. For us, our needs. The gold's nice. Gold's just sauce.
Yeah, it was not worth nearly as much on the other continents. Not even close.
I'm assuming we're jumping back in a taxi. Does our
Yeah, you
taxi
can if
wait?
you'd like.
Yeah. We're just when we're in the taxi, I'm just like thinking like, man, if we could like set up teleportation to all these places, like the amount of trade and money we could make bringing, we have rare things to
Trade
places.
runs.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, Kaz, do you recognize any of the runes on the scabbard or on the sword?
That's a good
hilt?
question. Do I?
Make an Arcana check.
Okay.
Didn't want to ask you in front of them in case it was worth more than they thought it was worth.
Ooh.
Pretty good roll.
Ooh. It is a +1 greatsword, but the runes tell of magical properties that are not unlocked.
Oh, so there's more to this sword, brother. I don't know how much more.
That was a high DC, and you met it. But yes, this magical sword has properties that they didn't know about.
We may have came out on this even better than we thought.
I'm just happy to
Or
have a new
worse.
shiny sword.
It
Or
is very
worse.
shiny.
Or
maybe
worse.
question.
That's
maybe-
true.
Maybe question will have someone who can ID it for us. That's something that I do
I'm
not
happy.
possess at the moment.
I'm happy my pit stop turned out well. Let's go do
Yeah.
whatever you guys had to do.
Dude, as a side note, that was an amazing shopping trip.
Yeah, we have to go meet Question. I want to see if we can find out more about this amulet that we're carrying around, and then I want to go to the
I want
I go to the magic shop. What is Guido's?
Oh.
Sweaty
Gustav.
cat.
Guidos.
So our priorities though, you guys want to go see Question, right?
Yeah, we're meeting her at the
Okay.
bathhouse.
Yeah, we can't
So we're
just
going to
dilly
see
dally too
Question.
much. We told her we were going there to meet her.
Yeah. This was
It's
like a
gonna be all
10-minute
wrinkly when we get
conversation.
there.
All right.
We didn't
Like a
do.
10.
I figured we sort of hand waved the time that we sorted out when we would meet. But yeah, I'd like to go to the River District and maybe just see it and look at the magic behind it, and then we'll meet her. short
Good
order.
to scout your location first.
Bathhouse is okay in the river district. What
It
do we do
is,
with the
yes.
gold in the parcel? How do we divvy that? Or
I
Oh,
think Drag has a divvy that button.
there we go. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Did we already divvy up the 200 gold we got before as well?
Yeah.
I did indeed. Yep.
Man, I'm doing good in gold.
Alrighty, so we're short carriage ride over to the river district.
Is that where we're going? So no other stops on this particular leg of the journey. Just double checking.
I think we all feel pretty good about the stop we had.
Yeah, I just seen it in my bag and I figured I was like, maybe I can try to sell this.
I love the I don't know, I guess because he businessman, the straight talk from his version of how he sees things. That was so good too. I wasn't even really gonna ask him on that.
Talking about the factions.
Yeah. All his reflections were nice.
And they're always like everyone's perceptions are always some version of the truth.
Yeah.
And for those are similar to
whether
what I was saying
actually
about him.
true, then that's. I'll say what's
I'm just
actual
happy
truth is
they.
a different thing necessarily entirely sometimes, but. Okay, so we're gonna make it taxi the rest of the way to the river district. This is definitely a significantly different area than all of the rest of town, right? The sandy, packed streets, some are cobblestone, some are paved in different ways, sandstone buildings, but it's all. Everything looks like sand. I mean, it's just sand-colored sand, right? Everywhere you look is just that same feel. Sometimes there's brightly colored cloths and stuff to try to hide the fact that everything looks like sand. But when you get to the river district, this is the oasis in the oasis. And it is cultivated through both magic means and through science and actual mechanisms to bring water from underneath of the city in some way to this place up above. And then as you approach, you can see these large aqueducts of flowing rivers that move off in all directions, and each themselves have little tributary pieces that kind of move around. And there's a lot of greenery here, like actual greenery, kind of a rare piece. Like there's a lot of more desert plants and stuff. Like even the step aside had a lot of plants in it. Something to show, like it showcases that it is, kind of higher society establishment. But they were still mostly kind of desertish stuff. Where here is actual greenery everywhere, and there is kind of in the center one giant glass dome that crowns the source of all of that water.
I definitely still have my detect magic going on as well.
Yeah, you can see lots of crops and rows of different vegetation grown all along all these different tributaries here in this green area. As the carriage takes you around to a particular place, you can see the steam gardens themselves, and this is like the luxury of all luxuries here for the city of Ankarel. Um, it is there is a giant arboretum, um, like actual trees, which is more so than vegetation. Trees, which suck up so much water, is almost wasteful. There are trees growing in like a lush grove, and that kind of have, your stereotypical, like, here's your pathway with the trees growing up and over, making the archway itself that kind of goes into this nice building that is a giant bathhouse and spa. And then water from the canals kind of feed into the gardens, and then there are hot springs that are magically fueled all around that bubble as they release nice little jets of massaging water.
Did you like at the, they go out in these little squid like or octopus like legs? Where the water's coming from? Can we see that?
Where the water is
It's
coming
coming from the center.
from that center is the
It's coming from
giant
the center and
glass
going out.
dome. Yeah,
Yeah, what
So-
what does it do when it gets to the end though?
it's like an underground aqueduct that then the
Pulls it
river
back
goes
to the-
into basically a water tunnel that then takes it to other parts of the city.
Yeah, I want to
Oh, okay.
explore some of those at some point.
And the spa building is in this north grove of trees. Is that right? Or is it
Yeah,
inside
north.
the
Yeah,
center?
yeah, kind of on the north side. Yeah.
Okay. So I assume that's where the cab kind of dropped us off at, and so
Yeah,
we're getting
basically
out of the cab.
right in front of this giant walkway, of an archway of all these trees with a path that goes, 100 feet to this big grand building, and you can see different, like hedgerows that block obscured vision. But as you kind of walk over, you can see these little bubbling pools of hot springs all about.
Well,
Sin's just kind of really geeked out right now. It's like that's just marvelous. And I guess being heated by the fire realm.
let's go check out the spa. I mean, while we're here, and we've got a sack of gold from Question.
Sounds good to me. Just
Isn't that where we're meeting? Question at the spa,
bathhouse spa?
bathhouse.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe we get a massage first, then meet Question.
Yeah. So you approach this, and kind of move up to the entrance to the building, and there, as you approach these two large, ornate double doors, beautiful wooden doors, which in and of itself is extremely rare. You don't see wooden doors anywhere. They look like they were cut off of massive slabs of trees that must have been giants. Even in comparison to anything that would be probably even for 1,000 miles from this place. Giant, thick slab doors with like actual gold handles and like ornate decorations, all set into the wooden doors themselves. As you approach up to the stairs leading up to them, the doors swing open as a couple of people stand out, and then they stand aside the door and bow, and then motion your way in. Welcome to Ankorel's Steam Gardens. Your business is our pleasure. Please come in.
I shake my head at the others, like judging them. Like this is a huge waste of time.
Do you all enter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
I follow them, head down, embarrassed.
Is there like a front desk?
Yeah, so you walk in, and inside, in addition to this like extremely luxurious and ornate doors, and there's like marble floors, and you can think of just every silly luxury that they have spared no expense to place into the visuals of this main entry room. There is a front like giant bar counter, and behind them is welcome, and you can kind of see that just like a little twitch of like as they kind of look at you, and like, you're a little rougher than our normal crowd. That kind of come, like you can feel perhaps almost palpable a little distaste as to. But it doesn't come through in any of their vocals or their movements, like as they welcome you in and that kind of thing. But you get a little like, like maybe a little upturned nose, a little something that does resonate with you as you come in. Yes, guests, esteemed guests. I assume you wish to embark in the establishment.
Who's our speaker? Who's our speaker?
It's not Brutus. This is not his idea.
Embark. Is that like
Let's
Like-
sail. Get in the water.
Yeah, embark
I
is
mean,
like to
do you
go
have-
on a journey. Yeah, like essentially to
Do you
embark
have
a vessel.
a menu of choices, options?
The spa treatment is just an hourly rate for each of the guests. Access to the actual steam, to the steam rooms and the hot springs, and the general spa treatment, massages, every luxury is our service for your pleasure.
How much is it?
Are you
What
gonna
is
ask?
the hour? Yeah. What is the hourly rate?
I'm scared to hear.
It is 10 gold an hour per person.
Easy. We'll sign up for. We'll start with 1 hour each.
believe we may have a bathhouse reserved at some point.
Is that part of this group? The bathhouse? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is the main bathhouse.
Okay.
If that's what you're referring to. Yeah.
And then they have multiple steam rooms. Is it possible to get a private steam room?
Why, absolutely. We wouldn't want your. And then you can see her kind of tilt her head, trying to figure out what's the polite word to say. Sensibilities to be encroached upon by any of the other guests.
They're plenty happy to hide us.
That's fine.
Would this be a private room apiece, or a private room as a collective?
I think a private room as a collective should be fine.
Easily accommodatable. To the amenities here, and then like robes and slippers and like all of that kind of thing. There's just a stack that they kind of go through and pull out all these different things to give you to enjoy your stay in whatever comfort you so choose.
Want AI art of Alisar and slippers and a robe.
Balasar, I think you're gonna have to rip that in half and then tie it around just your waist. that robe's probably not gonna fit.
Loincloth.
Yeah. Makeshift a loincloth out of the.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and so like they give you these amenities, and they take you back to your private steam room.
And how are we gonna meet Question? She's supposed to be here somewhere.
I assumed that was one of those little hand wavy things that we sort of in the communication back and forth we settled that we didn't actually RP out.
Yeah, like when she arrives, that she'll be looking for you, and then they'll do like you say that. Oh, yeah, we have a friend
we'll
coming.
Tell you, we have a friend coming in a couple of minutes. You can
Shorty McShortyfoot.
Show her to our room, our steam room.
And yeah, and so that totally get taken care of. And so you go and you get comfortable, and it's so relaxing. Like even immediately with just the dryness of the air and everything that you really hadn't noticed or taken toll as to how the desert air would make you feel. Because I mean, you are in the barbed fields. It's kind of like a wasteland, but it's not desert. It's not as bone dry as this place is. And then getting this, just the steam, the heat, the actual moisture itself, you can just kind of feel some of that tension wash away.
I think 48 hours ago we were getting stabbed walking down the hall. Look at us now.
And then, as you kind of go through, you can wait just a few moments, and then it won't be very long before Question follows you in, and she walks in. She's very pretty, something you perhaps didn't recognize very specifically because she's so quirky and oddly energetic that it's that's so forward that it's hard to kind of see. But standing in her robe as she walks into the steam, as she's led into the steam room with you, like you kind of taken aback as to, okay, for an elf. I mean, sorry, for a tiefling, not an elf. Sorry, for a tiefling, as exotic as it is, her features are gorgeous. Ah, friends. I don't think I could have suggested a better meeting place. Great relaxation.
This is pretty nice. They just didn't have a robe for me.
Question, we have questions. Good to see you again.
I am a big fan of questions.
Well, let me tell you the biggest one on my...
Wait. One thought. Hang on. Kaz, can you do the bubbly thing in the room to prevent
Eavesdroppers?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
It
suppose.
doesn't also like a sound barrier, right?
But it also
No, it
prevent us
doesn't do
from stealing.
sound. We tested that, right? It doesn't actually prevent sound.
Thought it did.
I thought it, but it's going to prevent us from feeling nice temperature. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, if it
This
doesn't do sound, then never mind. I just thought if we could.
I mean, we'll just talk in hushed tones.
Okay.
Or you could
Okay.
ask her if
So
this
my
is a
questions.
secure location.
Yeah, okay. We could ask her that first. Can we speak frankly here? Do you think we can speak frankly?
It is difficult to trust many a place, particularly with sensitive information that you request. Maybe I have an idea. And then you can see she stands up and she herself begins to cast a spell. And you don't feel any different or anything, notice anything like that, but after her spell's finished, she can see her nod her head. Yep, I think that will do nicely. Those prying ears will not listen in on our conversation.
Do I know what she cast?
Roll an Arcana check for me. 19. Yes, effectively it is custom, so it's not like something standard, but basically she turned a cone of silence or like the silence spell where it's inverted as a bubble of a wall, like an exterior dome of silence, as opposed to everything inside the circle is silent.
When she does that, I'm just like, oh, that's fascinating.
But it is some custom modification that she has been taught or come up with to alter that spell's effect, its zone of effect.
Okay, so I say, in the last day or so, we've heard about some ruins that are underneath the city that the shoot, forget what they're called. The Sigil District guys, the Alliance, that the or Allegiance, that the Allegiance are very interested in, but we think that it has something to do with the fellow who is lost. And what do you know anything about the ruins underneath the city?
And you can see her kind of tilt her head up and click her tongue as she kind of shakes her head a little. The Allegiance and their fixation with the ruins of Kermaro. It is a tale as old as they are. They worry so much about what came before. And sure, there is power in that. There is things of interest in that. But they are so fixated.
Well, we feel like we're going to have to go there eventually.
Okay. Yes.
Is it? Will we be blocked from trying to get there to explore the ruins, or is that something that we could gain access to? And do you know how we could gain access to it?
Well, to be frank, if you're well enough entrusted to be given full access by them, then perhaps there are other ways. It is not under their ownership by any means, but they are the ones that are predominantly in charge of its excavation. There are known entrances, and then perhaps unknown ones too.
I say I can't speak for necessarily everyone in our group because we haven't made it absolutely perfectly clear, but I can say for myself that I'm interested in joining with your what are they called? The Cobalt?
The
Cobalt Soul.
Cobalt Soul. I'm interested in joining, and I'm wondering how that process would go, how I can help you, and if you can help me understand this amulet.
Ah, yes, all good things, and so happy. And you see she's like, she's kind of giddy, and so she's like a little hopping, a little in place, as she's kind of bouncing a bit, and then she's kind of like clapping her hands just a little bit with so she's talking with excitement. Um, I so hope that you would. I did speak with the leader of this particular outpost of the Cobalt Soul. And I think we could fast track some way in here, given some of what you have done. But I'm afraid certain traditions are without some standard as to application process. So I think that, you know, to be clear, there's usually trials for the normal person trying to enter the Cobalt Soul. They usually start off as a librarian's assistant and do menial tasks like sorting books and shoving them and things. I think that we can bypass that entirely. But I do think that there might be a series of tasks that they would wish for you to accomplish. And if you can show yourself worthy and capable and discreet and trustworthy, that might get you in the inner sanctum.
It seems completely reasonable and expected. What do you know? We heard of a place, Gustav's, in the Sigil district.
Still funny. Gustav. I know this person. He's a shop owner, yes?
Yes.
We believe so, yeah.
Yes, very interesting, this question. The... I would say that... well, what is your question?
Well, does it seem like a reasonable place to go to try to find magical,
Items.
items? I'm particularly interested in some protective items, but
Yes, I think this is a reasonable choice. It is also one that is above board, so that there is some merit in that. Not all places, mind you. Inventory is above board.
do you, this morning we were able to trade for a
We made a
weapon.
great purchase this morning.
Yes.
You have some good use of magic. Are you able to identify magical items?
That is normally within my capabilities, yes.
Would we
So the question before Car gets too deep here is one: would they have let me carry my sword to the bath with me?
Well, I mean, you can be hella sure that I'm not like sitting here naked without at least the amulet on or
No,
whatever.
They have a place if you would like to place your things, but they do not take them from you if you do not.
Oh,
wish
cool!
to
Because
part
I'm
with
bathing
them.
with my new sword. I've been just bathing with it this whole time.
is there
I want to develop a relationship with my new magical sharp sword.
could we make use of some of your abilities? Is there a price? Yeah, you would like.
Price. What do you? To what are you referring?
This got a good deal.
He just pulls it from under the
Sit
water.
out.
Look what I have!
It just comes out of the water out of nowhere. Whoosh.
Uh,
Uh,
And I just stand up and walk toward her. So, you know.
Ooh,
you're in the water, and then you just stood up.
No, my sword's. I'm bathing with my sword.
We
We are
Yeah, but
friends.
we're sitting on a bench. The rest of us are sitting on a bench in the steam, in our robes still. But if you're in the water, I'm guessing you're probably not in your robe. So if you're standing up and
I
whipping
didn't
your
have a
sword out,
robe. I had a towel.
What you do with your eyes is your business.
I
Yeah,
imagined that
you
we were
have
in the
to look.
water. I mean, whatever. This is all good.
Yeah, I was in the water
questions
like a proper
like,
lizard.
well, I have that answer now.
She's taken aback a bit.
Surprise!
Can you identify this?
It is hard not to.
It's hard, all right.
Oh.
I'm not at all cold-blooded.
So when you hand over, like holding this giant sword in front of her, and she kind of stands there, like stands up and looks at it, and then is like, this is obviously ornate and skillfully made, but let us see what properties it might hold. So she begins casting effectively identify spell, and then she does in fact say, describe from a game, real world versions of the game mechanics that it is a +1 great sword, but there is at least perhaps 2 other enchantments on this thing, but they lie dormant. One perhaps could be fueled from power within, one from power from out. So, what could that mean? If you were to somehow entrench this in a source of some immense power, it might be able to unlock the last enchantment. This coming from within, that's a little different. That seems... It's not necromantic in nature, but it is fueled somehow from the wielder. Can't say how that's unlocked.
Fueled by the wielder. That means me. Okay. Fuel. Got it. You'll be fueled by my bourbon consumption.
Very interesting purchase, nonetheless.
Yeah, we had the luck to come from another part of the world with something that no one could see here before, and what do you know? It's worth something.
So when can we start the process to begin speaking with the leaders of the Cobalt Soul?
Thank you.
Well, that's fine. Just we have a few more things to do today anyway, and you can just let us know once you know.
Yes, I think after our meeting today, I can go back if all parties are properly satisfied, and then perhaps in the morning, convey what that may be. I will warn you now that I cannot assist you with this particular trial.
We understand.
That would be untoward. The expedited process is already out of precedence.
I look around the group that's all discussing stuff here, and I try to get everyone to acknowledge that they're on board by putting words in their mouth, basically. So we're all on board with this, right? And I look at each one of them in turn.
You can see her perked up and like she's leaning forward, like smiling really big. Like,
I mean, we haven't been accepted in yet. This is just an interview. There's nothing definitive here yet.
Are all hearts devoted? Are all minds as one?
Riv, Tina, you gotta acknowledge. I'm looking for you.
Yeah, I mean, seems like that's the best way forward.
Okay, I want to go to Gustav's, but before we go, I want to go. I want to go check out these aqueducts entrances, particularly the one towards the southwest near
Did we?
Are we done
the
here?
Yeah,
palace.
Kaz,
I don't know
you-
for sure, but I'm just saying what I want to do next.
Okay, well,
Yeah. In the moment. Let's go, buddy.
Kaz, are you have more questions for question while we have a
Do we want to go in deep now, or wait till we do the trials and meet with her again? There's still definitely more questions.
Oh yeah. Let's go. Let's get some more things answered.
yeah. let's
These
get more-
these ruins were they ruins of an old city? We seek city of humans and orcs.
I mean, we already have the answer.
Do
Orcs
we
and
for
elves.
sure? Orcs and elves.
Yes, she said
Yes.
Kaer Morrow specifically
Yeah,
at the
she said-
beginning.
I said that was the ruins, but okay. Never mind then. Cool.
And he said he was. Did he say Karamaro? Where did we also hear that word? Yeah.
No, he didn't say Camaro, but we know that in Camaro the Allegiance has ruidium, or they're mining ruidium
Hmm.
in Camaro. So we put it together that Camaro is possibly the place where
Elixion.
Elixion is because of
And he's underwater.
yeah. So
We
and he's in a destroyed city.
we may be restricted from getting to him at the moment anyway. We may need to get something further.
Underwater place lit by crimson glow. They're harvesting the source of the glow and leaving him in darkness, and this act is torture for him. And the city of elves and orcs was destroyed centuries ago. So I'm gonna ask her, has she been to the ruins? Has she been in the ruins?
There is some
What?
access available to, I don't want to say all, but many. And then there are other points of access that are available only to few.
Are most of
And
these
those
ruins currently underwater?
There is a good deal of Karamaro underwater. Yes.
So that's something we're gonna have to contend with.
There are.
the city, is it? I mean, obviously I know it's ruins, but like, is it structurally like you still can see buildings and know what was in buildings, or is it like rubble?
Oh, it is very little in the way of anything recognizable these days. It was good and well destroyed.
And that was during the calamity?
Yes, indeed, it was.
I'm thinking out loud here. Would this would have been the last fight between Alexium and is that what happened here?
Well, the fight itself staved off some for others to survive, and there was to some extent a victory, but it did not stave off the calamity itself. I believe that most of the devastation lingers in the region which we came. But now here is different. I think that a lot of the landscape looks different, but it was not scarred in the same way that the barbed fields were, for instance. Scarred in a different way, turned upside down, turned inside out, maybe.
All of this could be coincidence, but it does feel that we are paralleling a path of the previous owner of this amulet.
Oh, yes, the amulet. Mm-hmm. And you say you've seen something as it relates to Apothion, or, as you say, Elixion?
Well, we saw a vision that said he was imprisoned underwater, and it sounds like this place.
Ooh. Imprisoned?
That's
In
what he feels
body
were
and
his.
spirit? Or
It's not clear. I mean, he.
This is
Under-
getting darker, as if them taking the ruidium away maybe was his source of light.
the ruidium? And you know of this, of the ruidium? You can see her eyes light up a little. Very interesting that is. That was a question I didn't even think to ask.
What?
You're always a mystery. Vestiges of ages gone. Visions. And knowledge of things that many are trying to hold as secret as any secret known. That is very interesting. I'm so excited to work with you, and that you have chosen us. You will both be a source of many questions, some who will not like those answers, but also, it seems, many answers, even for questions we did not know.
Anybody else have anything else? I want to get to Gustav's. I don't know how long we got. It's 10:20 already, but
I think that we will not make it to Gustav's, to be honest.
that's fair. Yeah.
So, are we leaving?
We had to remove gold.
Oh
Bye-bye.
yeah.
10 gold.
10 gold apiece?
Oh, and you wish to part company already?
I mean, I'm willing to stay.
No, I understand the means for a mission. A pity.
Let's grab his drinks later. Might enjoy good company.
Is
That's right. I'm hitting on question. Leave it alone.
Go for it, buddy. Is the other group, are they being taken care of?
Oh, yes, them. I do not believe the library is funding their stay, and to be honest, I've lost track of them. Well, I mean, me personally has lost track of them, and she kind of winks.
What does that mean? Can I tell what she means by that? Winking at.
She's saying that her group is keeping track of them. They keep track of a lot of things.
What do they know about them? I'm asking her. Like,
Ooh.
what do you know about the other group? About AO? What are their ties, their alliance?
I can say that this is not their first trip to Ank'Harel. But I do think that it is becoming clear that their allegiances are in question.
There we go. Good.
Perhaps we can win them yet. Just as we have won you.
So confident.
It's so creepy.
I know.
It's like we're
Yeah,
being
you're
bought.
dealing with a secret organization. Yes, creepy.
It's a very forward-facing secret organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their ability
yeah,
to be
the
secret is
secrets
only
are not forward.
subverted by the fact that they are so public. Right? So that it's their ability to hide in plain sight is astounding, but also the effect
It's
that they can
easy.
have as a result of that, people underestimate very easily.
It's easy to be secret when you're in the open because now they're not looking at your secrets; they're just looking at you.
I don't know if we have just been failing forward successfully. The other group's been through a lot too, and I think they are just questioning whether they should go on or not. They've helped us to get where we're at. They intended to or not. So, you could give them any courtesy, a free spa day, whatever it may be.
Like
I would
Question
appre-
said, she's not worried about her.
And I'm saying I would appreciate it.
Hmm. Well, I can say that it would not be perhaps the best idea to publicly fund them in some way. The library really can't help them in this way at this moment, mostly because of the danger it might present to them.
There you go. Because they do have ties with the other guys, and if they're seen associating too much with the other two groups,
And nothing like having dinner with the other faction.
yeah.
That's how you end up at Guido's.
Well, I mean, on the way before we go straight there, I want to check out these the terminal spots where the water goes in the octopus arms. I want to see if that's a place where we can enter as a group at some point, because I want to explore those to see if they lead to the like the old city or something like that, or if that's all just new stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that we can take of, and I think if there's like whenever we're finally confident with that we're finished talking to Question, and then I'll wrap up what you kind of investigate with that, and then we'll stop there, and then we can pick up what either at Gustav's or back at the inn for tomorrow's, or not tomorrow, but for the next session.
When is the next session, by the way? When are we available?
I would like to try for 2 weeks again. When is 2 weeks?
19th.
Yeah, that should be fine for me. But we can work that part on chat.
On topic.
Okay.
So is there anything else for a question before we leave the spa?
I just have one final thing, and it's if Question, because she kind of hinted that that there were different ways in, but she didn't answer the question directly if she'd been there. And so I just wanted to ask, since most of it's ruined or destroyed down there, particularly what I'm interested in finding in the ruins is like a temple. I'm trying to follow the track of this dude, so the temple of the Corellin, the Archheart guy.
Mm-hmm.
If there's in the old city, if there's some kind of temple there, because he did have that third prayer, and I'm assuming it's in the old city. but may not be. I don't know.
I believe that the answer to your question will become readily available in time.
All right, I guess we have to do our little entry quest before we can get that answered or something.
There are many things that you will be so glad for your choices.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, let's call it a wrap then for question.
All right. So, if there's no other inquiry, then question at the end of our time, they will come and collect everyone and ask if they would graciously like to extend their stay for another hour or perhaps two, and take on the other amenities. You were so enraptured by this one room that you didn't take in all that was to be offered here.
I kind of pushed toward the outside. All set. Thank you so much.
Oh,
He's a
well,
little shy around the scales.
very well. Our doors are open anytime. And then lead you out, and then you can see, question goes off to another room, gets dressed, and comes back out. And she kind of meets you all on the outside as everyone's getting ready to depart. So, well, I thank you all for this lovely, lovely meeting. If only I could take all of them in such luxury. But perhaps on the morrow.
Yes. See you tomorrow.
And then she kind of goes down the pathway and hails a taxi, and off she goes. And then, so you wanted to investigate the aqueducts specifically, yeah?
Yeah, specifically the ones in the west and the south.
Well, we also didn't go to the middle of the thing
Well, yeah, true.
where the water comes out.
I don't know if we could look there at the source. I want to see if there's a red glow anywhere that we can see, but I guess that would be not.
No, that's
gate.
definitely not the case.
Yeah.
And iridium is both rare and also coveted, and
Yeah, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't expect it to be just like, oh, I can see it from here. So, but yeah, I was mostly, as far as the western and the southern one were concerned, those entrances in general. I want to
Look
see
for
if
secret entrances.
yeah, I want to see if there's if it's trafficked or can be trafficked by humanoids, and
yeah. So if you go to these different kind of looking at these different things, go ahead and roll an okay, thing is already doing. Roll an investigation check for kind of what you're able to discern. It's like at a rudimentary glance, it looks like these things are constructed and of relative. I think they look like other construction in the city, but maybe
yeah,
amped up
in
a
my
little.
imagination that they're built on something, just like the old Roman kind of ruins. You have some sewer system, but then that sewer system is attached to like ancient things that they just sort of covered up. So if they're
Correct.
traversable by humans, then or humanoids, then I would like to explore it at least a little ways and give it a try to see if we can find any access to the Undercity.
Yes, the centerpiece would be the best corollary to. So like on the top is all pizzazz and magic. It's like basically it's a celebration of both life and the history of the city in all its glory. And then there's a lot of magic and mechanisms that pull things from the ancient stuff down below in the middle, and the aqueducts that run out to each thing. As you go and kind of investigate them as they go along, they look like they were purpose built, rather than on top of old construction, but more directed towards different areas of the city.
That makes sense. Okay.
Like each one is more of a The water comes from underneath here, and then it pushes it out to feed the wells all across the city, and in another such way. But they definitely don't look like they were utilizing the old. This looks all the stuff outward looks all new, and as though it was purpose dug and built specifically to support the current city's infrastructure.
Okay. And the central area, is that publicly accessible? Could we get in there if we wanted?
Inside in the dome,
The dome.
no.
Okay.
That you would be stopped. There is a significant number of people working, manning, operating, double checking, etc., all around, and then there are guards stationed regularly all around the dome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could always come back at night.
Or swim under the little bridges in. But it's probably dangerous too. I mean, the magic and whatever they're doing there.
Yeah,
We gotta be
there are
careful.
some people that that are about that you could talk to if you wished, but the guards definitely do not let people just in, and you can see that there are people from all over that look kind of tourists in a touristy area, like they almost stand out in themselves that they are in fact tourists to it all, and they're all gawking and looking and da da da, and then there are the guards are all about making a line and making a barrier and keeping people away and keeping the perimeter secure far from where the dome itself actually is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that helps. And now we make our way to Gustav's.
As Question was leaving, I say to my brother, and it's like, I think she was eyeing you, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you
My
brought your sword out.
One day they'll call us big and small. Ugh.
All right, and then I think with that, I think we'll go ahead and end it there, and then we'll pick up at Gustav's at our next session. I guess, kind of intermediary piece would be you might want to think about what kinds of things would you actually be looking for, because there will be. I'll go ahead and kind of preemptively tell you that there is inventory, and then there is inventory.
Well, I can tell you, I can't afford any of it. I can barely probably get a couple of healing potions.
Yeah, I have no idea what it will cost. I don't know how far my limited things reach. What do I have? I've got.
Well, my great sword allegedly costs 100 to 500 gold pieces.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I've got 319 gold and 4 platinum, which is like what, 40 more gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
That +1 weapon, that is the cost of a +1 weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in. I mean, like from playing these types of games when I was a kid, like things like a ring of protection or bracers of protection or something.
Awesome. Big
Because as a
money.
monk, I don't wear better armor. I imagine that I gear up myself with some sort of magical
Yep.
protection, but I wanted some more, basically armor class kind of arm items or something like
Yep. There is. So there are things to facilitate that. There's specifically.
And they don't stack.
The same types of things don't stack. Yeah. So you can't wear 2 rings of protection +1 and get +2.
For bracers or
I
protection.
got 10 fingers, yo.
Yeah, you can't hit me now. I'm pimping out.
that.
And my cock ring of protection.
Like cod piece of defense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's all available, but I'm thinking, I imagine rings or bracers or.
There's a cloak as well that gives +1 to AC. I had it on my last turn.
Yeah, it's usually the cheapest of the AC items.
There's some things that are like +1 to AC, +1 to AC and saving throws.
Those are
pretty
good.
That's pretty good. I'll go ahead and stop the recording here, but we can talk about it for a minute after.